Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Hopefully we're live at this point, though. We'll have to
should be live.
wave.
Theoretically.
People have to let us know if they can hear us loud and clear. That'll be very helpful. Yeah, we're checking. How's everyone doing, by the way? How's all the gang?
Good, I hope.
Apparently silent.
Sleepy, bro. But I'm here and feeling it.
He's
My-
feeling it.
To my last final today, big win.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Hey, fella's like, oh no, it is light. Never mind. I'm full of shit.
So we're talking about something special today. It's not quite cyberpunk, but what is it we're talking about today, Colin? If you want to introduce us in.
We are talking about the one, the only Belisarius Cawl. I was trying to really think of quick, like a WWE name for him, but the metal monstrosity. There we go. That's his wrestling.
That's pretty
name.
good.
I like the
Monstrosity.
Mechanicus Mac.
The mechanic. That's pretty good too.
Mechanicus Mac Daddy.
Yeah, the Belisarius Cawl. Pretty smart fella. Reinvented Space Marines to applause and hate from
Still, it's
both
heresy.
the fandom and in universe, as Eli has demonstrated.
As much as Eli's absolute hatred, this is I would say the man. It's the thing that's responsible for the Primaris Marines, but we're going to get a bit more into that later.
Probably most influential human character in the setting at this point because of that. That's me. That's me making an opinion.
It's an
But
opinion.
He's up there. If not the most, he's definitely up there.
That's if Gilliman's a
Bile is the
human.
main character of Warhammer.
We're all just living in his world, though.
You say that, and yet Tracing Infinite exists.
Yeah.
It is true.
Maybe.
But before we begin that, though, we start again with the question of the week. Thank you, everyone who submitted their answers last time. I think it was #buddies. I can't remember the exact question we did, but it was something like, who would you want to take into or be buddies with in Warhammer? And I've got a few. I mean, there's some of them are just straight up like insulting, but I think they're pretty on task. So I will start with the first one here. This is by Henricio 2860. He says #buddies. I would take Rogal Dawn so I could bore my enemies to death, which is so mean.
Yeah.
I feel so bad because Rogal Dawn gets crapped on so much for like, it's one of those things like he's very much crapped on in lore when he's meant to be like in the books. If you read the books, like, oh my god, it's Rogal Dawn. And then outside of the books and on tabletop, it's like, oh, it's Rogal Dawn. Like, damn. Poor Dawn, though. Okay, this is the next one. Someone's going to hate this, but at Colin's little femboy.
Oh.
Yes.
That's his
appreciate
name.
that. At Colin's little femboy.
You're a foul human being.
I mean, coming from the if a man who loves VTubers is telling you you're foul, you know you've hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I love them. Settle down now.
He puts #buddies. I would want Nagash as my best bud. That way he can show me why he is the bone daddy. So a bit of a 1-2 punch.
Maybe not. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was they had us in the first half, and then it went right downhill. And the last one is by at Crazy Scotsman 9327. He puts #buddies. I would choose either to follow around Gotrek and Felix or Snorri Nosebiter.
Yeah.
Am I going to die in this? Am I going to die in this adventures that happen? Most likely. Would it be a glorious way to go and fun and futile attempt to hang out with a dwarf with a spot of consuming ale? This guy has his priorities straight. We appreciate that, though.
Maybe stick
I
to
think
hanging out with Felix. Gotrek is pretty unpleasant to be around.
He's pretty. I mean, I'm reading some of the Age of Sigmar Gotrek books, and they're very much just the entire thing is him like rubbish. Like he's always hates everyone. He's pretty much. It's something like he's just what's like he has like a resting. I was like, not resting.
Just a cantankerous old man.
Yeah, he's just resting, pissed off with the entire universe.
Yeah.
We do have one more for the next question of the week. Does anyone want to explain what this next one is? Obviously, it's a bit on theme here. I think it's to do with. I can't remember the exact question. Which one we did we pick? I think it was.
I believe it's if you could augment yourself with anything from the 40k universe, what would it be? Necessarily be like exactly in the lore. If you think it would work in 40k, if you think it would exist, then go for it. And,
Like,
and what's the hashtag?
there's got to be a planet in the entire galaxy that's cyberpunk town.
Yeah, exactly.
There is an Airfire STC.
Exactly.
Well, I think the hashtag was chromed up.
Chrome me up.
Chrome me up.
Chrome me
Hashtag
up.
chrome me up. So if you want to, make the answers obviously within reason. Don't let YouTube flag you. I do believe, I think, in an episode like a while back, Andy did say he made like a little slip and he said, "Oh, what if you have a nice toaster wife or something like that?" And let's just keep
I also
the
called
suggestions
Horus the
wild.
Whoremaster once by accident, but that was a mistake.
Nice.
I was there the day the whore master slew the emperor.
I was there the day Horus shat himself. That's my favorite comment.
That's still
Oh,
amazing.
man.
That guy knows who he is, and he knows he's probably listened to this and wrote that, and that was genius. Oh, it was so good.
How far would you fellas go with the Mechanicus augmenting? Because
Pretty far.
personally, I don't think Call's mechanical enough. I still see a face that's
Yeah.
clearly still a regular human left hand.
Yeah.
Too much meat.
I
It
mean,
depends what you want to do, right? Like, what's the objective of getting chromed up? And I would say I want to do something that I literally could not possibly do as a normal human being. I want to be able to fold in half and like fit into like little crevices, something.
I want someone to look at me and their first thought be confusion.
I don't know.
Like, what?
I'd probably go full Adam Jensen to be like, I did ask for this, and just have like the sunglasses coming in, doing like jumping up the top of buildings, punching through walls, seeing through walls and stuff, and just be like, I'm a chromed up kind of dude. Yeah. But that's just I like those games.
I am a
I would
Flesh
definitely
fan, personally.
Wow.
Okay.
As an
Make a
ardent
statement here.
Emperor's Children
Ferris-
fan, you're like, oh,
Ferris
metal,
was right.
cringe.
Ferris was right. I'll take the Space Marine augmentations and that's it.
Ferris is a fucking dork.
Come on.
I'll say one word, and I won't justify it or explain it. Tentacles,
Okay.
Ugh.
Moving on.
metallic tentacles, and that's it. Speaking of that, though, we're about to get into the reason people are actually here for, which is not the chromed up scarring, but some of the lore. We're talking about the Archmagos Belisarius Cawl. I think Andy is taking the lead on this one.
Yeah.
So Andy will guide us through this journey.
So it's going to be quite a dense one, I think, because there's a lot to talk about. But again, feel free if ever I'm talking about anything and you want to pitch in, because we're going to cover everything from his origins to what he's doing in current day. There's actually a surprising amount of 5-page scripts of notes. And I remember when I was writing this earlier, I was like, oh, it's not going to be like too extensive. I was wrong. But let's begin at the start, where all things tend to begin in the first place. So Belisarius, before we do, actually, we just got a donation from Chin Big. He gave us 65 SEK.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. He said, the savior of the Imperium, the smartest man alive, the conduit of the Omniverse, close the rift, absolute turbo heretic, Belisarius Cawl. That's why we love him.
That was a
Very
much
nice.
better WWE intro than anything we did.
Although, before we start, actually, do you guys think he's a heretic?
By
yes.
the definition of what they call it, yeah.
Yeah. Would the Imperium say yes? Yes. Do I think so? No. I think he's a smart fella.
He's a
Perfecting
good boy.
the Emperor's
Good boy.
work, which is already perfect.
Which is
I
not
don't
hard
know.
to do at all. Do you have a 5th grade level intelligence?
But I mean, he's like as heretical as the people who redesign the iPhone every year. Like, there's not that much that's changed. Maybe
Those are
the
actually,
cameras.
those are Apple corporates. I think they're worse than Call.
Yeah. All of them are going to hell.
Yeah.
My apologies to any Apple CEOs watching the stream right now.
It is
Yeah,
not sponsored by
yeah.
Apple, the stream.
I hope not. Otherwise, we really screwed up that sponsorship.
If someone said he's not heretic enough, which that would be. I mean, you
be a
blur the
Fabius
line to
Bile
being
fan, then.
Fabius Bile at that point.
The real main character.
Ugh. Anyway, old man. Anyway, speaking of old man, so Belisarius is one of the oldest servants of the Imperium, or even individuals in the, at least in the galaxy, if you ignore the Eldar and the Necrons, at least for the human side of things, pretty much one of the only people who's been alive since the Horus Heresy. And when I say alive, he's been serving the Imperium for 10,000 years in some way or another. One of the most influential and powerful adepts of Mars. He is known as the Archmagos Dominus and commands leagues of the Mechanicus' military might. He has untold technological creations as well as improvements that he's been crafting over the years, and he derives a lot of his inspiration from the dark age of technology, because the Mechanicus being the Mechanicus and being one of the most powerful people in it, he's able to investigate and tinker with some stuff locked away in its most secret and well-guarded vaults. But the first recorded instance of Belisarius, at least in the lore that we know of, is during the Horus Heresy. He was created on Mars, and I say created specifically because Belisarius was not born. He was grown in a vat within the birthing facility of Xanth on Terra under the tutelage of Magos Biologus Hammereth during the 31st millennium. So he was vat grown. And the reason he's vat grown is because the Mechanicus find that being born is a bit cringe. It's a bit slow. It takes like 18 years before you can even like learn how to make a sandwich properly, or, you know, pay rent. It's like, this is too slow. So they actually tend to grow their, or at least they did during the Horus Heresy, they grow their tech adepts. And at the day he was born, he was already able to speak fluently, because his I don't think it says exactly how quickly he grows up, but he's basically an adolescent within his first couple days. He's already jumped from like the age of 0 to 14 or something, just like, right, he's grown up. That was quick. Because again, the Mechanicus is not all, they don't really like to waste time, shall we say. Now, he further, over time, he started to, you know, learn and craft things. He was never one to be compliant to the dogma of the Mechanicus, where you should fear technology and innovation that you don't understand. He's always been someone who wants to get to the new horizons of innovation. And as a young tech adept, he was starting to tinker with things. He was starting to grow more intelligent. He directed data directly into his mind, but he was always a bit of a strange guy in that he didn't like overt transformations of, I'm going to cut off one of my appendages and replace it with a brand new metal one. He was always more reverent with the Emperor in particular, and said the Emperor is pretty much perfect. He's not got many great big glaring augmentations, because the Emperor does have augmentations, so they're just very subtle. And he's like, no, we need to champion being human above being robots.
Is that like is it Arkad Land in the Horus Heresy? He's the only one of the few members of Mechanicum at the time, who he still looks relatively human, because he said like, oh, you know, we worship the machine god, but the Omnissiah is a human, so therefore his form is sacred, so the human form should be. And then everyone looks at Arkad Land and goes, that's weird, you've got you know, where's your monkey with the poison tail?
Dude, I agree with
pointy
them.
Beard.
Imagine joining the machine cult and being that boring.
I mean, you don't join the machine cult, you're just born into it.
He is, he is augmented, to be fair, but it's they look human. He looks more like a man.
Yeah, he was never one to be like, oh, you need to get away from being human. You need to quickly become like the Omnissiah. He was like, no, the human is like a holy form, so to speak. Because again, he believes that the Emperor is the Omnissiah implicitly.
Because despite being creatures of logic and like essentially mathematics and binary code and machine, they are very much zealots of faith as well, which is quite, I always find that dichotomy is quite strange.
Yeah,
which is like, yes, but then that thing is like it's so like the two different things merging together, which is why it's so damn crazy. And if someone is listening to this is new to Warhammer, oh my god, Mechanicus is like the best grimdark thing ever.
Yeah, they're so weird, and I think of all the factions as well, they're kind of like, I feel like they're one of the hardest to get into, because it's like, oh, they literally for the most part don't have a human face or something that you could like imprint upon, like, oh, that's like me. It's like, oh, it's a guy made of like several bits of metal, and you can see a bit of his face, and he has no real emotions. Like, oh, great.
Would you say that's a
Character.
similar problem to say if someone was like a VTuber, possibly Colin, which is like
Oh,
they're not
gosh.
quite the human form, so
Oh,
we
no.
struggle to relate to it in some capacity.
I think I've seen the people in VTuber chats, and I think they have no issues assimilating, as it were. Some of those
Yeah.
people are a wee bit too down bad.
Do you think on Mars then there was like a phase bit when they went from like the Martian priests
Phase
being
connect.
worshipped to like, oh, we had a VTuber like decade, and then we fully made the transition to worshipping?
It's why they banned AI. Actually, it was just a veiled way of getting rid of that garbage.
Too many
It's
guys giving their
present day,
money
those
away.
AI girlfriends that are starting to crop up, and that was like the downfall. That was when it was started. Like, oh no, this is terrible.
Not sorry, I want to finish.
Yeah, I am self-reporting. DJ.
That just reminds me, like, even I found it equally creepy in a weird thing I learned, which was like there are live streams where like people just stare at the thing, and it's designed for people who are like find it difficult to have people stare at them or like make eye contact. So there are streams where people just stare at the camera for like hours. And that equally
Wow.
was, I
Do
think, I'm glad
Do
that
they do anything?
no, they kind of just, it's like normal life, but then they get used to like people staring at them, obviously on camera. Like, I'm just glad the people know
Yes.
this now, and there's like a category of it. It's not the weirdest thing
Wow.
out there, but it's pretty much like,
It's not the weirdest thing, but it's not far off.
It's like
I mean,
the spot where
it's on.
you-
It's a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
the sleeping
why-
streams.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
sleep on camera.
Why would you watch that when you could be here with the boys talking about Beetle Daddy?
That's
who
right.
doesn't sleep probably.
Unless it's one of those streams
Yeah.
where you can screw with them while they're sleeping.
Yeah,
Those are
that's the
funny.
yeah.
But yeah, back to Belisarius. So he began his career as a tech acolyte on the world of Trisolian A4 under the tutelage of the Magos Domia Hester Aspergia Sigma Sigma, which is like a typical Mechanicus name. You can't just be called Kevin. It's like, no, your name is Hester Aspergia Sigma Sigma or Toaster 1 2 3 4 5. And while under the tutelage of the Magos, he started to learn the arts of soul merging. So soul merging is the art of digital duplication, which allows adepts to merge their own basically mental faculties and psyche with other beings, which helps aid in implanting and subsuming knowledge and experiences. So rather than, for example, if we took Eli and I was like, he's very knowledgeable about fitness, rather than like training for several years and learning diet and nutrition and form and stuff, I could just be like plonk and put Eli's brain in my brain, and now I too can deadlift for the dark gods. So that's kind of the basic idea of soul merging, which is a weird name for it, like soul merging, but it works. So like I said, he was always reticent to replace his own organs and limbs with mechanical upgrades. But as he started to age, he started to realize maybe if I'm going to continue to serve the Emperor, I'm going to have to utilize some of this soul merging technology to start with, just to keep me, keep the curve of my experience and my knowledge continuing to tick away. But in the future, I'm going to have to think of a way to get more storage space. And this was kind of the beginning of his, what you see him as today. But of all the Mechanicus adepts, he was among the most. He venerated the Emperor more than pretty much anyone else. He was very much like, I'm one of his guys. He's the best. Mwah, love me, Emperor. Simple as.
Is that in the way, like, because they think he, just for people listening, it's because the Emperor to them is the Omnisire, which is...
Yeah, because not everyone in the Mechanicus believes he's the Omnisire to an extent, but a lot do. And Belisarius is like, yes, the Emperor is the Omnisire. The Omnisire is my god. He's literally my god. I love it.
Just for a clarification for people, the Omnisire is not the machine god, but it's like the living avatar of the machine god.
Yeah, it's like not a prophet, but it's like an embodiment.
I don't want to make a real world link to it because I feel like that might be just a bit too crass.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in the name Omnisire, like Messiah.
The
Messiah,
yeah. I guess
I never put that together.
I know what you're saying, but it's. I get what you mean. It's probably better to be safe most of the time, but it's one of those things where once you see it, it's like that's They're not
Yeah.
hiding it. They're not hiding that
they
one
have
at all.
Trinitarian. There's even Trinitarian like Space Marine chapters and other sects
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
pretty
again,
cool.
with the idea of a godhead, he can be God and also the son of God or the prophet of God at the same
Fully man
time
and fully
simultaneously. And it's fantasy, so like, yeah, why not?
Someone's put beer gut Dominus. We don't
Oh.
body shame Mechanicus boys on this joint because they
That's not
can
a beer
literally have
gut,
it
that's
any
a
way they
beetle
want.
belly.
He's
Yeah.
a
beetle
beetle.
belly.
And also, he can
Um,
skitter really fast. So watch what you
Oh,
say.
But yeah, at this point, Cole started to realize he was struggling to retain the raw amount of information he was consuming. Because again, he's still pretty young at this point. He's like, I think technically only a few years old, even though he's like a man. But over the years, many have claimed that Belisarius over the years has lost untold archives amounts of knowledge. More than anyone in history, he's learned things that would be absolutely like groundbreaking and then had to just forget it or wipe it from his memory in order to input new stuff. And because of this dawning problem, he started to perform illegal modifications in secret on his own body. Because again, even though the Emperor is not wounded yet, even though tech heresy isn't at the heights it is in the 41st millennium, the tech adepts still don't like a lot of procedures. They don't like a lot of the stuff that could be described as heresy. And so in secret, Belisarius goes, I need more storage. I need to increase my SSD in my brain. I'm going to just like perform operations on myself while I'm awake to try and increase the threshold of my like storage capacity. So his intelligence started to skyrocket. His cognitive abilities, again, kept growing. And this would be when he had his first brush with the traitors, wherein Warmaster Horus, during the Horus heresy of his namesake, invaded the Trisolian system and commanded Cawl's mentor Hester Aspertia Sigma Sigma to defect to the traitor cause, which she did. Cawl was not happy about this because he looked at Horus's form and was like, "That's disgusting. That's gross. Look at that Warmaster, gross." And he really hated what he embodied and what he was obviously like projecting. So Cawl pretended to submit to the will of the Warmaster and his master whilst plotting behind Aspersia's back. He had a really good friend called Friedrich Adam Shipquo, which is a weird name. And
Do you reckon he hits him with the full name every time as well?
Friedrich Adam Quipfo. Yeah, just like can't call him Fred.
That's right. You have to say the full garbage.
We'll call him Fred.
Can't take
That's
him
easier.
can't take him on a stealth mission because of the whole damn name.
Picture on the screen right now goes pretty hard. Not gonna lie, he looks
Yeah, I
pretty,
was
he looks
thinking
pretty
that
thug
too.
in
That is
that.
There's some good ones.
That little tube into his like side of his
yeah.
nose is giving me creeps.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, that's why they do it
This
with
is
like
his
Horus
album
and stuff,
cover,
isn't it?
dude.
They just put like tubes up the character's nose who are usually
Yeah.
evil, just so you're a bit like, ugh. Just a visceral reaction. Like,
Oh,
"Ugh,
there's
a thing up
there's
his
an
nose."
art piece with Death Company, like Blood Angel's Death Company, and a guy just straight up has like a sort of extraction fan like tube to the side of his head, and I just remember I remember thinking like that is horrifically inconvenient. It's just imagine someone like
Or
can answer anyone
or
from
the-
the left like oh.
or the big like extractor fan tubes on Horus's head, where it's like it's because it's uploading data into his brain. It's like it's big tubes. Gah.
It's like
Yeah,
Peter
it's so
Rabo.
cool. Let's just see.
Or
Damn,
yeah,
humanity
Rabo.
is weird in 40k.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll call him Fred. So Fred and Belisarius, they start to plot to escape the Trisolian system, and together they manage to kill Aspersia Sigma Sigma before escaping. And before they do, Belisarius uses the knowledge he's learned from his mentor to merge her consciousness into his own intelligence core, which I believe is just like the equivalent of a brain. But he incorporates her knowledge, her experience, her mind itself into his. Soul merges with Aspersia, and now he's one of the most amazing soul merging scientists there is, because he already had a grasp on it, and now he has literally incorporated the kind of the most prominent scientist in that field into his own mind. So that's probably a good way to start, really. Like, oh, I want to use this ability to like incorporate people's minds. I'm going to do it to the first one I'm going to do it to is the best in the field. Yoink. Oh, that's helpful.
Oh, Colin, I don't know if you even remember this, but wasn't there like an old Dragon Ball movie or part of like the old series where like I think it was another Saiyan or a character he battled like the Saiyans and he basically would absorb their power at the end of it, and I can't remember the name.
There was Dr. Gero in Android 19, the fat clown who would absorb.
I don't know if it was I don't know necessarily if it's the
was.
androids. It might have been something else. But to be fair, like or like Cell, to be fair, it's similar to Cell.
With the Tree of Life.
Yeah, I'd have to like rewatch. It's been a while, but it reminds you of that. Or even like Cell, to be fair. Didn't Cell absorb?
He did. He drank people.
I guess to be fair, Belisarius did the equivalent of like brain soup, but
Cell's gonna be in Fortnite.
oh my god!
Yeah.
With that horrifying
You already
statement.
know I'm
So you can
spending
fight John
V-Bucks.
Wick and Master Chief, and yeah, oh god.
Cell about to hit the meanest gritty.
Anyway, so basically Cawl and Fred, they flee to Holy Terror because they're like, traitors are cringe, we're going to help the Emperor. And they manage to get to Holy Terror, and Belisarius is instantly summoned by a geneticist known as Ezekiel Sedane. And before anyone mentions, yes, I pronounce Abaddon's name as Ezekiel on my channel because that's how it's spelt, because there's Ezekiel Sedane and there's also Ezekiel from the Death Watch, and they're not the same name, they're spelt differently, so I don't pronounce them the same. Stop telling me it's pronounced Ezekiel Abaddon when it's not.
Well, to be fair,
because it's not spelled.
You could
that
be
way.
like, I'm pretty sure. Bless his name, good old lovely chap, Arbiter Ian, fellow lore channel.
Arbiter Ian.
Arbiter Ian. I'm sure he might say a few names wrong just on purpose, just to get me.
The one that gets me is the man Russ. Like, ugh,
The man.
Oh,
the man.
I still.
The man.
Well, when I
I've
was a
got
little kid, I was like, "How's this guy named Lemon Russ?"
God, because he's so sour. I still got a beef with the author Guy Haley, which is Gullyman. It's not Gullyman.
God, yeah.
Oh, icky.
Or I had like a comment recently saying it's not pronounced. You don't pronounce the e in in Reboot. I was like, yes, I do.
Everyone I have ever met does. What is that guy on about?
To be fair,
it's like it's Gilliman.
To be fair to Guy Haley,
reboot. That's the one.
Guy Haley's written like 3 books and other stuff in like some of the good like recent 40k lore with Gilliman in it, and then he still gets the name wrong. So I don't know.
The thing
if
is,
he's right.
I know for a fact that there is someone in GW who has like a tome of how to pronounce all the words correctly, but I've never I've heard Peachy from Painting Phase talk about it. I'm like, oh, that's cool, but I just want to like pour over it and be like, I will know the pronunciations and scribble out the ones I think are incorrect and put how I think they should.
You mean Ezekiel Abaddon?
Yeah. Oh,
Dude,
anyway,
Abaddon is the thing that gets me the most.
Yeah.
Like, Ezekiel
like
or
a bad
Ezekiel
one.
is
He's a bit of a
yeah.
baddon. Like, no, it's Abaddon. Anyway, so they manage to get they get to Holy Terror. Ezekiel Sedane says, "Cawl, I need your help improving the genetic template of the Legiones Astartes. I've been working on it a few years." And Cawl's like, "Oh, cool." Foreshadowing. So Sedane is in a bit of a quandary. He's really old. He's having a lot of trouble using rejuvenate surgeries, where basically people in the Imperium can kind of what's it? Is it F4 refresh? Whatever the shortcut is, like you can just be like refresh, and you can get your body kind of a few years younger through treatments. So rejuvenation called rejuvenate treatments, but it's not like a sure thing. The more you do it, the worse it gets, the less effective. And he's now kind of going, I'm getting older and older, and I'm still old. This is rubbish. I'll go and like have a rejuvenate, and I only lose like 2 years. This is rubbish. So he's desperately trying to find a way to prolong his own life. And that's why he needs Belisarius. Because why? Belisarius is now the foremost soul merger in the Imperium. So Sedane basically, he kills Fred because he's a dick. And he goes, yeah, Friedish is dead. And he goes, if you work for me, I will help you bring him back to life through your soul merging technology and my own genetic biologist powers. We'll bring your friend back as long as you do as I say. So Cawl goes, okay. And he allows Sedane to try and absorb Belisarius's mind into his own. But so badass is Belisarius and his intelligence that he actually does an Uno reverse card and absorbs Sedane's mind into his own. So Sedane basically just plays right into Belisarius' hands. He learns all of his knowledge that he's been working on for hundreds of years on how to improve the Legiones Astartes template. And something weird happens. During his absorption of Sedaine and his experience, he starts to absorb his memories. And one of them is where, during the Unification Wars, Sedaine is speaking to the Master of Mankind directly. And a weird thing happens. The Emperor is talking to Sedaine, but he calls him Belisarius. And he kind of does that like fourth wall break where he looks kind of past Sedaine and directly speaks to Belisarius, knowing that in the future he's going to absorb Sedaine's memories and see this. It's like a weird,
That's cool.
like cryptic message he's put in his own memory. And so the Emperor says, all right, Belisarius, the time's going to come soon where I'm not going to be able to continue the great works of the Imperium. You have to continue my work. I have 2 jobs for you. And he basically goes, okay, you have to continue basically Sedaine's work on the Astartes, but you also have to try and do whatever you can as a pledge to your god, your leader, the guy that I know you think I am, I know you love me. So do as I say. I need you to foster the imperial innovation and technological advancement in my stead, because I'm not going to be around for long. And Belisarius is like, well, sure, okay, cool. And now he is tasked with some of the most important responsibilities of any member of the Imperium ever. And I'm going to basically give us a bit of chance to ask some questions, because that's kind of the first chunk about Belisarius Cawl. Now he is destined to continue the works of the Emperor. And have we got any questions about Belisarius so far?
I do have a slight tidbit part, which is because some people think when this scene happens, this implies that the Emperor always knew the Horus Heresy was going to happen and it was like predestined. Whereas in the Master of Mankind book, it sort of explains how the Emperor can see like the future, but in a way, because the Emperor is so like Conrad Kerr's Sanguinius, they see like glimpses, but the Emperor is so powerful, he can see so many futures that it's almost like he can see none, if you know what I mean. Like it's almost like, again, he describes it like climbing a mountain where like he can see the footholds, but there's so many, he doesn't know which ones always lead to the mountaintop, which is like his end goal. And I think this might have been talking to Belisarius is like a contingent, essentially, where he goes, you know, if things go along this line, I need you to do something else. But then if the Horus Heresy never happened, then this will never happen, sort of thing.
And it would probably be quite just helpful to have a pair of hands. He's like, oh, that'd be useful. He can work for me. He'll do it for free. Brilliant.
if only there were 2 separate alien races with 100% accurate future prediction methods.
Not according to the most recent book, apparently. The End and the Death. Apparently the Eldar, at the time of now, End of Death Volume 2, the Eldar the warp is so messed up, they can no longer see the future accurate at all.
And that's the Emperor's fault for making Horus, who started that whole shit show.
And basically all the Eldar like sniveling, like I think Eldrad saying to them, yeah, you didn't want to get involved in the heresy sort of thing. You called it snubby human affairs. And now look at
being
what's
really
happened.
Helpful.
Yeah. That's a
further proof Eldrad is a G.
Colin, did you have your question or thing for the group?
I did. So since he kind of, went up to Colin, was like, hey, I don't know, he's backup plan, like Alpha Bravo 9, whatever number of backup plans he has for this crap. Would that not technically mean that not only is he not a heretic with the whole Primaris thing, everyone else is? Because Biggie pretty explicitly told him, hey, you do your thing.
And that's the thing. That's what drives him. He's like, I literally have our God's or our prophet or our Messiah's blessing. Shut the and it's like, but then if you're a Mechanicus guy, you're like, he just told you did. He's like,
yes.
Free. What? Yeah, he told me in a memory and I have no evidence for it, but shut up. He told me I'm the proper guy in charge, and they're like, nah,
they should have faith, those heretics. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And again, you kind of look like a raving lunatic if you were like, God spoke to me in not a dream, in a memory of a dream, like
of another person that I
absorbed into my being, and also I'm having memory loss problems, guy. It's legit. Don't worry about it.
Honestly, you didn't even need to go that far. You could just go, "Hey, were you alive in the Great Crusade? Did you see him walking around? No, so shut up."
Hmm.
True.
I do have mine
I
was
looked
not,
upon Horus and he was cringe. That's Belisarius.
Yeah.
I do have a question, but it's not really at all helpful. It's actually a would you
Hell yeah.
rather. It's
Oh.
it's only a small
Hell
one.
yeah.
It's a little one though. But it's would you rather be a sentient servitor or sewed into furniture like the Dark Elf did?
What the heck?
What kind of furniture are
This
we talking
guy.
about?
I mean, to be fair, the examples
Yeah, this
have
is
been
important.
like seats, sofas. There's even one where Fabius Bala assists him in making an entire building where it's just people sewn together on the outside.
Because I feel
I
like
pick-
something would suck more. Like it's like a wardrobe sucks, but then if you're a chair, that's probably worse.
Oh, Luty McShooty. That's a great name. Thank you for the $5.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
that, brother. I will preface though, as a servitor, you're fully conscious, and I'm sure we've all like maybe read a short story
Yeah.
bit
Oh.
where like you're like basically trapped in a body you can't control. But then I'll say the stipulation is if you're sewn into furniture, you will eventually die.
Have you seen the Warhammer TV show there where it's Angels of Death Origins, the second one I think, where it's literally a story about a guardsman running away from the gene stealers. The Mechanicus find him. He's going to escape and he'll be fine. It's like no, he just gets turned into like he gets like fused into a desk, like a computer terminal, and
Yeah.
becomes like a servitor. It's like it's the most depressing thing I've seen in my life, and it's like brilliant, but I'm like no thanks.
Like, I've played Space Hulk Deathwing. They're like in power cores.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not pretty either. Like
It's
I'm pretty sure his eyelids are cut off, and he's just like got no legs, and he's just in the station, and you can kind of see this unhappy look on his face while he's just and you're like, oh,
Yes,
Mechanicus.
but furniture. So
People
people
I
can
get to pick the furniture.
let's just say it's made into a those kind of those couches where it's like a bed couch and people are
Yeah.
not just sitting on it.
I'm in.
I was
give it a
waiting for
week,
that.
you're gonna be
I
like
was waiting for
covered in
that.
farts. Like, oh no.
Oh.
So which one would you rather? And let's just say as a servitor, you don't get chucked in like another awful situation on top of that. It's just you're a servitor.
Servitor
You know
might
that
just
spider-
be one of the terrible ones, though.
You know that Spider-Man meme where, like, from the movie where it's like, dude, I'm already in. You don't have to sell me. The more you're talking about the furniture, that's what I'm feeling. That
Oh.
farce thing was pretty
Lilith
disgusting. I'm not
Hesprax's
gonna lie.
doormat, please.
I'll volunteer.
Can it cross to the
Oh,
fantasy
gosh.
genre?
Well, as a servitor.
Marathi's. I'm not
Well, I was
gonna
gonna say, 'cause then
I'm not
if
gonna
Colin
finish
was
the
like-
sentence.
His coat rack, and she doesn't wear many coats.
I had a much,
yeah,
I had a much better.
maybe
thing
not so
for
bad.
Colin to be,
Dude,
but I'm not gonna finish
I'm-
it.
I'm walking up to Nagaron myself then.
I mean, to be fair, I'll say you're sewed into furniture and you're not the only piece. Let's
you have
just
company at least.
Yeah,
Nah.
I guess
Share
so.
the
So
wealth.
you
I
got so is
think
everyone
I-
here
Me
picking
and Colin could be
furniture?
No, I
like
think
sewn
if
into
I
like
could
a shared
choose-
wardrobe. Like, all right, Colin, yeah, sucks, yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
dude, I'll have someone to talk to and shoot the shit with.
If
Yeah,
I could
DJ
choose the
Beast
type of
again here.
servitor, then I'd want to be like a combat servitor or something. Then you might. Just
No,
have
I
to-
think you can't die as a servitor. You just don't die.
But then I guess you get to see some action and do stuff at least. So
although
I'd like
although
that.
servitors do deteriorate over time. There's like that one again. There's the premise of the Mechanicus thing is like the servitor that is in that position is kind of jittering, and it's like, and she's like, oh, we need a new thing. Kill that one, put a new one in. It's like, oh, we're just like cattle.
Also, the chat is saying Oni versus Inquisitor or Inquisition episode. That's pretty awesome. That'd
Not
be-
bad.
We do need to talk
Shout.
about Inquisition at some point, to be fair. We do need to. So
Yeah.
apparently every one of us is degenerates and we're going to be sewed into a couch. Or
No,
a-
I'd be servitor.
Wallpaper.
Same.
Yeah.
so is that two servitor, two wallpaper couch?
I
Yeah.
think so. Something like that.
Horrific, and I'm glad everyone has nightmares about that. That's pretty much my
I'm not in
question.
your walls. I am your walls.
I'm not in your way. I mean, to be fair, what if you're the corner? That'd be the worst bit for some reason. I don't know why.
Loads of mold.
For no reason, the
Cobwebs.
corner sounds worse. That's pretty much my on brand question, though. Definitely not a servitor, though. I mean, trapped in a body which you can't control is my worst nightmare. Yeah, Eli, do you have any questions for that, or do we move on? Oh, I
was
think we're
gonna
going
make
on.
Yeah, I was gonna make fun of the Emperor, but then you defended him preemptively, so it was fine.
Oh, about how it's like the timeline doesn't seem to work on it. Yeah, that's just a theory though. Like it being a sort of a contingency. So
I think
I
it's
guess
just
there's not really
GW
many other
authors.
contingencies.
But it's fine.
I mean,
I
that's
think
true.
GW authors make up a lot of stuff afterwards when they realize that they messed up. But
I like the
that's
guy who
okay.
made the lion punch his own son's head off, and everyone's like, oh, "That's just weird."
That is messed
But
up.
we will descend deeper now into the next layer of the mechanical chromed up iceberg here, I believe. To be fair, Belisarius Cawl himself is just like 30k Belisarius. He's still pretty man shaped though, I think, Andy.
Mhm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you for reference.
He's quite a manly Magos.
He's not like the current. He's not in his current beautiful
Oh, no.
form, is what I mean.
Again, I'll kind of go into that, but the slide into that has already begun because put it this way: put yourself in Belisarius' metal shoes. You've just survived the Horus heresy. It's over. The Emperor is now wounded. He's now interred on the Golden Throne. All the loyalist Primarchs are going to chase after the traitors, and you just had a vision. Well, not even a vision. You've had a direct go-ahead permission, pink slip, whatever you want to call it, from the god of your cult to say, do what you got to do. You have my blessing. Get stuff done. You're not allowed to take any days off. You're not allowed to quit. You're now my appointed, most important inventor and technical marvel maker of my empire.
So he basically gets the
What
same
do you
amount of
do?
holiday as they do in America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Damn.
None,
Belisarius
and
is
it's-
the wage slave epitomized. It's like, oh, you make no money and you have to do it, and you're going to do this for 10,000 years.
2 weeks
Brilliant.
luxury.
Luxury. Back in my day, we did. I was
Oh,
born in a
yeah.
vat. I was.
God,
Oh.
and I can't believe I have to. If
So-
I get ill, I have to take my holiday out my holiday.
You had a
time.
Some people
childhood
get sick days,
luxury.
at least. Some people-
I was 14 on my second day in this world. Oh, I didn't have a
Damn.
childhood. I was speaking Spanish by the age of 2, 8 days old. Yeah, anyway, so he's been tasked with that by the Emperor, but he's also got another person giving him orders. And before Rabute Gilliman goes out to chase the traitors, he's now been appointed the Lord Commander of the Imperium. He's now the de facto veto, in charge, most important person of the Imperium. And before he goes and chases traitors, he says to Cawl, look, I've heard about you. You're important. Dad's told me about you. I've got 2 jobs for you. I know about your dealings with Sedain. You need to work on. Well, sorry, got that wrong. The Emperor told him that was his main thing. The Emperor said you've got to work on the new breed of Primarchs. But Gilliman said, I need you to do one thing for me. First of all, I need a fail-safe in case I get wounded really badly and get killed. So Rabute Gilliman tasks Belisarius with creating the Armor of Fate, which is a war suit capable of sustaining his life should the worst come to the worst, because he's now the most important person in the Imperium. It would really suck if he got wounded. Before I get to the next point, Looty McShooty donated $5 and says, when is Chaos MF Doom going
I'm
to
here to see MF
rap
Doom.
us a verse about one beer one day?
Thank
Thank you,
you,
brother.
Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where was I? So yeah, so the first job is I need a fail safe in case I get wounded. The second thing is this sword, the Emperor's sword, is pretty cool, right? Yeah. I need you to look after this, because I'm not going to go charging out into the Imperia, to the wider part of space with this really important sword. It's kind of important, can kind of kill like demons and any immaterial force. It's a bit too valuable for me to go gallivanting off with this, even though I'm in charge. So look after that as well. And I'm going to go off and chase Fulgrim. Like, cool. So Bobby G instantly goes to meet Fulgrim and gets crunked. And
He gets
Big
he
win.
gets bodied. So it's a good thing that Belisarius has been working on the Armor of Fate. But on its own, it's not going to help Gilliman. This is literally just a thing of if he needed a life support system that was in a suit of armor, if he had to be interred in like the equivalent of like a Primarch version of a sarcophagus for a dreadnought, this is kind of what the Armor of Fate does. It won't revive him from the poison of Fulgrim's blade, because basically Gilliman went and fought Fulgrim. Fulgrim poisoned him by stabbing him with a blade. Poison put him in a coma. Armor of Fate's cool. It's not going to bring him back. It's just a nice piece of armor that will sustain him if he ever wakes up. So that's already
Fulgrim
a bit
wounded
of
his
a-
soul.
Yeah, he wounded his very soul. So like a piece of armor, it doesn't matter how cool the armor is, it's not going to bring his soul back. But it's really cool. You should see his model is pretty flashy.
It's fancy.
So he's done that first thing. That's not too bad. So he's done one job. He's done the other job. Emperor's sword is nice and tucked away. The custodians are also involved. It's not a problem. So he's already kind of checked off the list the things that Gilliman wanted to do, even though he's now like in the equivalent of like, you know, that scene in The Simpsons where Lennon's in the glass sarcophagus. That's Gilliman right now in Ultramar.
Isn't that in real history as well? Isn't Lennon still in?
Yeah.
It's a little
He's in a
viewing
glass
port
case.
in case you were
Yep.
thinking.
Yep. In case
Oh.
you wanted to go look at him.
God,
Yep.
I'm so, you know, what do I do with my Saturday? Let's go look at
Just
communist
stare at Lenin's
leaders.
dead
Yeah,
body.
I sure wish I
Brilliant.
could look at a dead communist today.
Yeah, great.
That does,
my
that does
God.
sound like pretty appropriate in that accent, I have to say.
But yeah, so
Hell
he's already
yeah,
done.
brother.
Brother, he's already.
Yeah, but...
Back-to-back Cold War, World War champs.
Yeah.
You don't know commies. Where's McCarthy? Get the commies in.
There's someone breaking in. It's just a storm deck.
Richard Nixon.
But anyway,
Okay.
so Gilliman's tasks have already been accomplished, but now Cawl has to do the Emperor's work, and the Emperor's work is such. He needs to tinker and tweak the Primaris Space Marines as they are right now. So he's already got Sedane's knowledge. He's already got some information that the Emperor has left him. But I know a lot of people are like, how the hell can Belisarius improve the perfect designs of the Emperor? And we've got to bear in mind, the Emperor during the Wars of Unification only had terror as a resource. So he had the Thunder Warriors, he built the Thunder Warriors, and originally they had like scraps of armor, they didn't have sealed suits, and then they made those. But then when he embarked upon the galaxy, he made all the legions, and he basically had to cobble together a force before they even had like the sealed suits with the Mark II armor, their space fleets, blah, blah, blah. So the Mechanicum was just churning out space fleets. It was creating armor. It was creating weapons, but it was kind of on a deadline. Like, we've got to do the Great Crusade. We've got to do it in like a few hundred years. Oh no, the Horus Heresy started. Bollocks. Oh no, all our resources are split in half and the traitors. Oh no, they've broken planets. Oh no, the Adepts of Mars are having a civil war and they've defected. It's not the best situation. Not only that, the end of the Horus Heresy, there are still traitor-occupied planets. The Mechanicum has still got the Dark Mechanicum causing trouble, and the Emperor is wounded, and the resources aren't optimal. And the Empire is slowly dying. So I think the idea to get into people's head is that, yes, Belisarius improved, but it took him 10,000 years, and that's a long time. Like, a couple of years, make the entire Legiones Astartes, very impressive, but 10,000 years to slowly scratch and scrape and bring the resources to bear and tinker and make failures and maybe vent them into, I don't know, a furnace or whatever. But over time,
As one does.
as one does. But over time, Belisarius managed to improve on the design, creating things like the Belisarian furnace, an extra pair of organs that go in. Like the furnace, I remember listening to is it Darkness in the Blood, where Mephiston becomes a Primaris, and it talks about how with the Rubicon Primaris, you take the existing organs, you put this furnace in, you put the other stuff in, and it kind of like supercharges the Astartes like growth hormones and everything. So it's like you plonk everything in the microwave, then you turn it on and it expands. It's like pop, you've got a Primaris. But it's also really dangerous to do on firstborns because they're obviously in the 41st millennium, they've obviously had like slowly degenerating gene seed and mutations, and they've also been through lots of war, and they're not in their prime of their lives, and blah blah blah.
I remember it
but
explains
during-
like it peel. They have to peel back Mephiston's
yeah,
skin.
they peel back the skin, and then they have to implant all this stuff, and then they have to fit the black carapace improvement. What's it called? Because you've got the black carapace with the spots where it just clinks the armor on, and then they have that body suit they wear now.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's got like muscle weave technology and stuff in the mesh of the design.
They also put fibers over their
Yeah.
chest as well.
Yeah, and they put like fibers in their skin layer so it gets tougher and all that. So like they it's a lot of stuff, and it's very impressive that Belisarius managed to do it.
But yet my
it's work.
Primaris Marines can get crunked so easy on the tabletop. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
Unless you have Gravis armor. Thank God for
Never have lore accurate
Gravis.
Space Marines on the tabletop.
But it is also worth noting as well. So the Primaris Space Marines have been tinkered away for 10,000 years. They are pretty close to like the optimal genetic imprint of the original firstborn Space Marines. So remember, in the 41st millennium, they're unleashed, but they've basically been kept in stasis for 10,000 years. There's no like continual batch of recruits, so to speak. They literally just had like a bunch of soldiers put in stasis for 10,000 years, and they tweaked and tinkered with them until they were ready. So they're actually like very pure in their genetic makeup. And that's one of the reasons, for example, in modern lore with factions like the Blood Angels and the Space Wolves, etc., their gene flaws aren't as pronounced. Yet there are obviously some problems taking part, for example, with the Blood Angels, where the Red First and the Black Rage are now starting to be shown in the Primaris, but that could also be because they've been accelerated because of their improved genetic structure and all these new organs they've been fitted with. Yeah. But either way, that's a tangent for another time. So all the candidates were drawn from the genetic stock of the Legiones Astartes, and now the legions have been sundered into chapters, and Belisarius is just tinkering away. Over the next few millennia, he becomes a Forge Lord, he becomes a Legio Arcanus, he becomes a Magos Biologist, and over the millennia, he begins to master different arts of both biology and technology until he's becoming a savant in numerous ways, more so than anyone else in the Mechanicus, and he's not tethered to dogma. Unlike everyone else in the Mechanicus, one, he's not tethered to dogma, but two, he's of a position of enough authority that no one can really like try to kill him or stop him. It's like, oh, that's that crazy Belisarius guy who says he spoke to the Emperor. We don't talk about him.
I guess it could be argued that you say like, oh, it took him 10,000 years to make the Primaris Marines, but maybe he didn't have the resources to even enact that until he was an actual Archmagos, which is the highest rank, like, or one of the highest ranks.
Yeah, it's not only do you have like just like bits of stuff from the Emperor that he's left behind, and you can't ask him about stuff or like sit with a cup of coffee and be like, so how did you do the gene, or I made the gene seed using this gubbins? Like, oh, like he doesn't have that, and he's also got and one of the reasons he's like going up the ranks is he's trying to learn different parts of how they can be incorporated into his works, whether it's designing new weapons or improving the Astartes. But again, he still is really disdainful of people who replace their body parts with augmetics. However, because he's been tasked by the Emperor to do all these jobs, he realizes if I'm going to like survive the next few thousand years, if I'm going to continue to innovate, I have to make some sacrifices. So he starts replacing parts of his organs and brains. You know, oh, I'm 100,000, I'm like 10,000 years old at the end of this. Oh, I'm 185. Oh, I've been drinking a bit too much. Oh, well. Oh, I'm 785. My eyes are getting a bit, I'll replace them. Oh, my arm, it's getting a bit shaky. I need to have a metal one to stop me like dropping things. Oh, and over time, he becomes more machine. He becomes more machine than man. A little Obi-Wan Kenobi quote for you. And as time goes on, he's getting more and more influence with the Legio Titanicus or Legio Custodes, with the many components of the Emperor's war machine. He's starting to make alliances. He's starting to get more power in the Mechanicus itself. And his reliance on soul merging continues to grow, because from his perspective, I could spend the next 500 years learning how to master this technology, or I could just yoink this guy, put his brain in mine. Cool, I know all that stuff now. So he's incorporating more and more and more people into his subconscious and his mind. He's now, by the 41st millennium, he's like possibly hundreds of or even thousands of different individuals all incorporating into one body. And he's not a hive mind. He's not like the Tyranids. He's not like that. He's a guy who's just kind of made... He's just incorporated all these memories and experiences and people into his mind. And again, he continually reaches the limit of his intelligence core's memory. So after the first 500 years of work, he has to delete parts of his memory to incorporate new memories and new knowledge. Because of these, he's mind wiped himself twice. he regularly dumps his memory into storage devices to free up space. And because of this, he's becoming a bit forgetful. Because of this, he's becoming less compassionate towards people because, oh, life doesn't matter. Your existence doesn't matter. I have stuff to do. You need to give me this to get the job done. And over time, he eventually earns the title of Dominatus Dominus, or Master of Masters, by the Mechanicus, due to his immense amounts of works that he's done for the cult over the millennia. He's utterly dedicated to preserving humanity, despite its ever-dwindling resources and odds of survival, and he roams the galaxy in search of ancient artifacts, relics, and Xenos stuff in order to, one, utilize it to stave off the darkness, but also learn new methods of weird arcane technology. He's very clandestine in nature due to his continued suspicion, the continued suspicion from the Mechanicus of, talking with aliens, or you're not allowed to make the Bugatti Veyron from that STC. You have to use the Ford Fiesta that we have used for the last 10,000 years because that's what we do. We don't innovate.
You can't marry the VTuber toaster.
Oh, so sad. We have a donation from Tom Warren for $5. Thank you, Tom Warren.
Thank you.
I must make the ultimate sacrifice, becoming an immortal robot man. As you wish, if you must.
If you guys could, which part of your body would you replace with a mechanical substitute?
Why do I need to pick one? Why can't it be just everything?
Could I start easy? Pancreas?
Yeah. Truly, that has to be your first answer.
I was gonna say some like arms or legs for cool cyber bits, but I'd like no more diabetes, please.
Can't blame you there.
It's a bit of a shame because it's like you could have like kangaroo legs. Be like, I gotta get this done first.
Honestly,
this takes priority.
I'd probably do something like knees because at some point I'm gonna get old.
My poor knees.
And if my
That's
knees
why
go,
I said legs.
no, but not the whole leg. I sort of, I want to be Lieutenant Dan. I still got my legs.
You will have your legs; they'll just be metal, and you can take them on and off at will.
I just want to be able to feel my legs.
I think I'd get like. Oh, go for it, Eli.
I was thinking like just organs in general. I want to keep my skin and just regular muscles and flesh like that.
Your skin.
Like
your skin.
But like I don't like kidneys.
I want to keep my skin.
Kidneys and liver and things like that. Maybe, but not the stomach. I'd want to keep my stomach because your stomach's like a second brain. I don't think I would.
What about you, Andy?
It kind of sounds a bit generic, but I'd love to get like a robotic arm. I'd like to have one of those ones where I could have you seen that? I don't know what it is, but like the hand rotates into the arm, and then all of a sudden you've got a whisk, or you've got a knife or a screwdriver or whatever, and I could just be like Gadget Man, like look at all these things, or I can open doors.
Metal bones would be nice, like metal encased bones, I guess, because you still need the actual bones with your marrow and stuff.
I mean, I like the Deus Ex Seraph Industries stuff where you can see the person playing piano with the metal hands or throwing a football. Oh, that's quite fun. It looks sleek and shiny. Although if it's Mechanicus, it's probably a bit more like robust, I guess is the word for it, where it's just clunky looking.
It looks like a church organ at the same time.
Exactly.
I was thinking of something like a joke earlier.
You have to dip it in the blessed oil every day.
You remind me earlier like a joke we all probably know, but it was like when you were saying how Belisarius Cawl would get all his, he's finally upgrading his body and he's like feeling a bit weird about it, or like he judges himself. And I remember thinking about the joke where someone says, "Oh my god, girls can get toys, but if I order the 3,000 with dispensing trays and something collection things and disc cleaners, and then I'm judged." So I think I have another. Oh, thank you again from Luty McShoot. That's such
thank you for the $2.
McShooty McPoopy would be a good bit to add to that as well. Sorry. All chromed up tombs. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to insult your name or imply that.
But he did anyway.
Collecting trays is in my brain now.
Yeah. So yeah, with what's going on with Cawl, probably the first few millennia of his service since the Horus Heresy, he's getting very, very forgetful. He requires solar decades to recuperate his body in a personal stasis crypt. So every few hundred years, he literally has to go like, I need to have like a rest. I need a day off. I need a holiday. And he'll just like put himself in stasis. And then by the time he's had a nice rest, he'll just kind of jump out and be like, right, raring to go. Recharge my batteries, which is pretty cool. We got another one, another donation from Golden Arm.
Thank you.
€3, I believe. He says, "I'd replace my eyes. I want them to glow in the dark."
Hell
That'd
yeah.
be cool.
That's so like he doesn't get run over.
What?
Oh, this is the thing. Like, do you guys have cat's eyes in the US or Canada on the
What do you
road?
mean?
It's
What,
the
those
little like
small reflectors.
small reflector lights in the middle, like in the middle of the road or at the
Oh,
side sometimes.
Oh yeah, we have
Because
those.
they're all over the UK. But my God, there are some places in like Europe they are not. And I remember driving up in the Alps and thinking, I might die here. This is scary because I can't see the road.
Oh, yeah.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on where it is in America. Like around where I live, because it's in Chicagoland area. Yeah, they're on pretty much every street. But you go to like backwoods, Midwest. So you leave Chicago and you're in the rest of the Midwest. It's like, boy, it sure is dark. I hope there's a road in front of me.
Why does everyone crap on the Midwest? What's wrong with the Midwest?
It's because there's three things in it. There's
tree.
Chicago, there's St. Louis, and then there's endless fields of corn.
That for
Do you have
corn
deer
fan.
jumping in front of the road though?
We do
Because
get
that's a
that
big thing.
sometimes.
Oh.
We
Yeah,
also
right
get
around here.
raccoons jumping in front of the road. But shout out to that
Oh.
raccoon who did that when I was driving with my entire family.
Well, at least they're small. You could just wipe them off the windscreen, just like
Yeah, at least they
and
don't
it's got,
destroy
like an
your
elk
car.
or a deer.
He was
That's-
he's like, oh my God, that pancreas no work, and then just
I really wanted an autograph.
I really want to meet
I-
him, splat.
Dude, he ran perpendicular to the car, but it wasn't perfectly perpendicular, so I had
Oh,
enough time
man.
to go, oh, I'm about to hit
Oh,
that
dear.
thing. And then there was a bump.
I have a confession as well. I may have
Uh-oh.
a couple of years ago by accident murked a badger on the road.
Oh no!
That's how it is. buddy.
Man, European badgers are so much nicer than American badgers, too. That sucks.
Yeah,
I know, but that was just I couldn't stop, and then
we got
it broke my radiator on my car, so it got
Oh,
back.
dear.
we have another fellow, Eldritch, the old great one, for $5. Thank you.
Yes,
I'd replace his legs that way no more need for a car when you can run at 40 miles per hour. And we have
Yeah.
Australian $20 from Leelaush Ryu. Thank you. I have Crohn's disease and the weakness of my flesh disgusts me. I crave the certainty of steel. I have 80s Guitar Rangers. I have 120 shots hitting on 2s. 6s are mortal wounds. 9th was completely fair. Happy face.
Yeah.
Bless you,
Thank you,
bro.
Lelouch.
I miss
Big
9th
shout
edition
out
on
to
everyone.
Mechanicus weapon. That is just them giving everyone on the battlefield cancer.
We all appreciate how the Mechanicus trailer is like one of the best like memes and like not even meme, but it's just like iconic
It's
moments.
I
so
from
crave
Warhammer
the
history.
certainty of steel. I aspire to the purity of the blessed machine.
Your kind cling to your flesh
That's,
as if it will not rot and decay.
he does it much better.
Oh,
We should get Voldemort just to do the entire thing for us randomly.
that'd be awesome. The
um,
machine is immortal.
I do have a quick question about like how much for because obviously Belisarius Cawl from a lore perspective just keeps chucking memories and things into his brain. At what point, like what decisive point, is he no longer Belisarius Cawl, if you know what I mean?
That's always what
Well,
Fabius
that's-
Biles thinking too.
So I think
Yeah.
it
Wow.
depends on which AI is dominant at the time.
Yeah, I mean, in a tangential way, you know that thing about how, for example, they say, is it something like biologically because of the way that we shed cells and regrow them, you're not technically the same person after about 18 years, like every
Yeah.
18. I think it's something like that.
cool.
Yeah. So like every portion of your life, you're technically not the same person you used to be, but the memories and parts of you are what make you you.
Mhm.
I suppose the question about Belisarius is maybe the only thing that tethers him to his original purpose is his pledge to the Emperor to serve him. And that's the only thing that remains of him. Like, I'm going to serve the Emperor, to the point where he doesn't even remember why anymore. He's like, no, I serve the Emperor because that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
do you remember Fred? No. Who? I don't remember Friedish. Oh,
I think I shoved him in my brain
There's
couple
a-
centuries
Yeah.
ago.
I don't know if this gets into spoilers for possibly some later bits in the from you, Andy, but isn't there a part
Go
which
for
he
it.
explains like how his brain works in some of the books where like there's like a child that is like randomly in his experimentation room. He's like, he's out of place. And he like in his brain, literally, you hear him goes switch to which like on a dial almost like what personality he wants to
Yeah.
switch to.
Hmm.
And he goes like, friendly, no, oh yeah, yes. There you go.
Although I love
commanding.
that thematic there as well with is it Battlefleet Gothic where he meets Creed and he's in the thing. He's like, I need to check the pylons, and there's like all this information on his like visuals. And there's one point where he says to Creed, I need to investigate the pylons, and he's running checks of like, if I have to kill him, what's the percent chances that he will like not survive? And it's like 5%. Like, yeah, I will kill him if I have to. If he says no, you know, oh, he's a savage. He's like, I would just kill Ursa or Creed if he says I'm not allowed to. And he actually has like a percentage chance of how he's going to get away with it going, just in case. Like, yeah, he does not mess around, and it's brilliant.
The funny thing about that too is that go
ahead.
Oh, the first percentage was like 33%, which means he fully expected to have to start taking bodies.
Yeah.
This is I find it funny. Like, after he lives like that long, and he has so many personalities in him. Suppose like geniuses and crazy whatever. Like the people at the top of their field. And as soon as he sees trades in the infinite, he goes like abomination, filthy Xenos. So it feels like every single person who was incorporated in his brain was like, oh, was it Trazen
just like, I prefer so and so. You're like, oh, Trazen, you
I prefer honored guest.
That's the one. You cheeky boy.
Awesome.
But yeah, so at this point, he's several hundred years into his service. He goes into these sometimes decades-long sleeps to recharge his batteries, quite literally. But once he's done with that, he's renewed with purpose, and he's raring to go. He gets back into it. He's now got leagues of Skitarii legions, if he needs them, entire armies of the Mechanicus. He's got probably a lot of ties to, for example, the Iron Hands and other chapters, which need the weapons that the Mechanicus makes, and Astra Militarum regiments where they need what he provides. But it's also worth saying that Belisarius isn't really a fighter, but he can throw down if he needs to.
For real.
So Belisarius is massive at this point. He's bigger than a Custodes. He's bigger than a Primarch. He is gargantuan. He's got several limbs. He's outfitted with weapons such as the Arc Scourge, which can exercise heretical machine spirits from your armor or your weapons or your, spaceship if you need. But you can just be like, it's gone now. It's not going to work. I just exercise this machine spirit from existence.
He has Task Manager as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He has 404 error on all your stuff. He has the solar atomizer melter weapon, which can just like burn through pretty much anything. He wields this gigantic Omnissiah axe, and he's got like several arms. So he's actually quite adept to just like this thing that's bigger than a Custodes. It's got a huge axe head. He can just be like, boff.
My favorite thing is he can move. This guy can move far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he skitters literally along the ground.
He's
so
got
quick.
He's got little beetle legs, so he can charge. Like I feel like it'd be terrifying just seeing what like maximum speed he can scuttle at. Because like humans in our bones, we hate things that scuttle because
icky.
Not right.
Because when we were growing up as like a small species, things that scuttled or slivered killed people because snakes and stuff and scorpions. So to see him like,
it's a skittering pensioner or retiree
that's
coming
20 foot tall, wielding a gigantic axe. But yeah, he also has a bunch of mechadendrites, which can just completely swamp his enemies. So if ever he's like, I'm busy, thumph, oh, I'm being torn apart by these tiny robot creatures. Ow. But again, it's worth mentioning, he's not really bothered about combat. Combat is a means to an end. If he has to throw down, he'll be like, out of my way. But he's not going to the battlefield as a commander going, I'm going to lead my men to win a campaign. He's like, I need to investigate that thing over there, and there's a bunch of Black Legion in the way. Let's just carve through them so we can get over there. That's pretty much the only time he goes into combat, because he's not bothered about leading armies. He could probably do it really well with his tactical brilliance and ability to break down information so quickly, but that's not his thing. He's a scientist, he's an inventor, he's an explorer, so he's not going to be doing that. He eventually would design dozens of revolutionary weapons, like for example, all of the Mark X Primaris armor, or the new type of dreadnoughts, or the new call pattern bolters. He's been recovering STCs. He's been learning information from databases of Xenos races that are long extinct. He seizes ancient archaeotech from worlds that haven't been seen by humanity for millennia. He was very crucial during the aiding of Cadia, during Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade, where he was investigating the Blackstone pylons, and he met with the honored guest Trazyn the Infinite. And after calling him an abomination, he reluctantly worked alongside Trazyn to attempt to use the pylons to contain the Eye of Terror, because again, Abaddon's whole thing is he wants to make the Great Rift, which is the expanded version of the Eye of Terror. So more chaos, gooey warp stuff, more chaos stuff happen. That's good for Abaddon. So his whole thing is he wants to destroy Cadia so that the Eye of Terror, which is already a big nuisance, grows and splits the galaxy in two. And Trazyn and, by extension, Belisarius are like, we don't want that to happen because chaos is cringe. So they work together. They start to shrink the Eye of Terror using the pylons. And then Abaddon has a hissy fit and he throws a Blackstone fortress called the Will of Eternity to collide with Cadia and blow it up, which works, which is really annoying.
It was the ultimate like child threw down the toys of another child.
It's literally like
So,
throwing
like,
the table with all the chess
still won.
pieces up.
Bro, let's
Still
we gotta,
won, though.
We gotta hope Sandman is not here right now.
Listen,
He
Ed,
would
okay,
not be happy.
Ed, he failed like
He
kind
won.
of a
He
little
won.
bit until he literally went, "Oh, screw it," and just threw the entire thing.
It's literally like, imagine you and a guy were playing chess on a chessboard and you won, and then he just got a sledgehammer and went no, and just did that.
Or shove the
It's like,
chessboard down your mouth or something. and
Yeah,
just
it broke the
It's not-
chessboard, it broke the table, and it landed on your foot, and it really hurt.
chessboard
Ow.
I'm
to
happy to
stomach.
make fun of chaos. It's not Abaddon's fault that he blew up the planet. I mean,
It's
it is his
GW.
fault, but he knew he was going to lose. He's like, well, I got enough time to ball, and he balled.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bit where like he even invades and he's trying to get to Cawl while Cawl is working on the pylons and Trazyn's summoning Greyfax and all these, like, he's pokeballing like all these
Whatever
guys into
crap
fight.
he has.
Yeah, he's like, I've got a regiment of summing. I think it's destroying, isn't it? All right, that'll do. Greyfax, you're in. Here's some Space Marines. Cool. Here's a Custodes I had. Whee! And he's just chucking stuff. And
Found some old screens in
Belisarius
my
is like,
pocket.
abomination, keep them off me while I press these buttons. And he just pressing the buttons. And they shrink the Eye of Terror, but then Cadia blows up. Kaboom. One of the last things containing the Eye of Terror is now gone. And I think it's somewhat supposition, because I think there's some people who say that it's not technically Cadia blowing up that allows the rift to grow, but practically speaking, it does. So
it was the pylons on Cadia. So functionally, yeah, Cadia blowing up is what did it.
yeah, and that's kind of like it's a weird thing where humanity was like, oh, Cadia is important because it's got lots of cool resources, and like the Giga Chad are like, no, actually, it's the pylons. That's why Cadia is important. You're stupid.
Common Necron W.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just want to point out someone who said, imagine looking like General Grievous but big. So thick, hashtag thick Grievous is
Good for
not
him.
coughing all the time.
Dude, as long as it's the cartoon Grievous, I am
Oh, yeah.
so in for that.
Terrifying.
Baller.
Yeah.
Oh, that scared me as a kid. The one where it's like all the Jedi are in that
Yeah.
the crashed
The animated one.
in that crashed
With
ship.
Kiadimundi and all those
Yeah.
guys.
And the first guy who looks like Shaggy from Scooby Doo, just like he just runs forward and it's like
His name was even like Shaw Guy or like
Yeah,
Shaw.
yeah,
Guy.
Oh,
You can look
that's
it up.
pretty
Ah.
tongue in cheek.
Nice.
Yeah. Or that clone whose skull he implanted in the wall with his foot.
Yeah.
Man, that was so cool.
Yeah. Although it's not as cool as the clone trooper who like is getting overrun. He just like grabs the rifle and just like blowing up battle
Yeah.
droids and
Commander
stuff.
It's a
Fordo.
classic scene.
Fordo. Yeah. That guy is just like, I don't care. Like, yeah.
So epic.
Best character in Star Wars. Yeah, so the pylons are destroyed. The Eye of Terror is expanded. The Cicatrix Maledictum or Great Rift is a thing. That sucks. So Belisarius is like, shit. My most important goal right now is to stop the spread of chaos. This is a bad day. So he works alongside Greyfax, who's now been like released from her imprisonment. Hold on, we got a $2
Thank you very
donation
much.
from Tom Warren.
Thank you.
Construct additional pylons.
Very good.
Always.
Command and Conquer reference. Insufficient command
I thought it
points.
was StarCraft.
Was it StarCraft? Oh, maybe I'm just getting them
don't know.
confused.
I've played neither of those games, so I could be wrong.
I've not played StarCraft, but I have played Command and Conquer, especially the third ones.
what's the game where like they have the actors in like
Command and Conquer.
cutscenes? And then it's like, I must go to the last place where there are no
It hasn't been
Oh, yeah,
tainted
communists.
by
that's,
capitalism.
Space.
Command and Conquer, yeah.
That's so good. And then you had like
Loves
what's his
it.
name?
Tim Curry.
Stuff.
You got J.K. Simmons as the president of the United States, which is brilliant in that one. You got George Takei as the emperor of Japan. It's
The guy laughs in the
Brilliant.
middle of the take. He's just like, the last
Yeah.
place the communists
yeah,
haven't
corpses, but
conquered.
it's so well done. They're like, no, we're keeping that.
Space.
Ah,
Dude, I
I love
love
him.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry is a national
Red
treasure,
alert.
and he's brilliant.
Oh.
Red Alert 3, yeah.
Hellmarsh
It's a great
goes
game.
so hard.
Oh,
It's the song.
Oh, hello. We've got Omsk Commissar donating 100 CZK.
thank you.
Ooh. Saying, here for getting me addicted to Gotrek and Felix.
Glad we
Yeah.
can-
Yes,
welcome.
it's such a good series. We're already hooked. We'll have a part 2, I'm sure, in the coming months. Definitely.
Well, the thing is, we've got to get through Felix, Gotrek and Felix, but we've also got to go back to the Great Crusade at some point. So there's still a lot to do.
It's been a while.
But yeah, so Greyfax has been released from her long imprisonment by Trazin, just as a bit of a fun lol. So she's active. Marshal Marius Amalric of the Black Templars, the Living Saint of the Sororitas Celestine, and Cawl all band together to try and get as many people out of the remnants of Cadia as possible and form the so-called Celestinian Crusade in order to get as many survivors as they can on their warships that are remaining to get the hell out of the Cadia system, while Chaos are laughing like maniacs going, we fucking did it, yeah, we did a crusade that actually did something useful. Brilliant. And Abaddon's like,
didn't
I see, I
Damocles
told
it."
you I'm not useless. So fleeing the Chaos war fleets of Abaddon, Cawl sets his own flagship, the Iron Revenant, to face the Black Legion as a sacrifice so that they can escape. Because again, Abaddon's commanding the Vengeful Spirit, which is Horus Lupercal's original flagship, which is Gloriana class battleship, which is massive. It's like one of the biggest ships ever created. So good luck fighting that thing. So Cawl is like, we need a distraction. I will send my extremely powerful flagship just to like distract them. And then all the Scutari cuddle their toasters and meet their doom. But in their escape, they are aided by the Inari via a webway gate, and the Celestinian Crusade begin their venture to the Ultramar system as Cawl is harboring the Armor of Fate for its intended destination to find the Avenging Son. So thanks, Yvrain and the elves. You're not all bad, but most of you are. So
You know what? That's the
Damn.
closest I'm going to get to a compliment out of them on the Eldar. I will
Yeah.
take it.
they helped Mac Daddy Mechanicus, so they're all right in my books.
They're about to help a bit more as well with what they're about
Exactly.
to do.
Well, you know how I said, for example, earlier that the Armor of Fate is cool, but it's been lying around for a few millennia. So has Rabute Gilliman in his coffin, but and people are like taking pilgrimages to Ultramar, going, "Look at him! Oh, he's still asleep. Oh, he's big, isn't he? Yeah, he's
Look
big.
at the dead communist.
Look, look at his level. He's got a lovely laurel. Oh, he's got a very lovely laurel. That's a nice laurel."
I think even Dante the Blood Angels, I think he mentions at some point he was at Macragge and he like saw Gilliman in the
Yeah, there's not many Primarchs you can just like see lying in state. Like even Sanguinius is in a sarcophagus and he's been like killed, whereas Gilliman's alive. So it's more like it's a pilgrimage spot where, oh, this is a nice way of like rekindling a bit of hope. Any chapter, any Militarum rest, anyone, if they full life that they live, can go visit Gilliman and be like, oh, well, he's still around technically, and he's like a reminder of the good old days before all the bloodshed.
It must be
for
pretty
millennia.
crazy too, like in the 41st millennium, being like, oh yeah, Primarch, whatever, you know, the myth thing, and then it actually
some
turned
people
like,
don't
oh,
even
that's
think they're
actually like a Primarch. They were real.
Yeah, it's like the only physical like here. It's not made up. We weren't making this. Isn't propaganda. It's real. Oh my! You go look. I took a photo when I was over in Ultramar. Oh yeah, he is. Oh, that's quite cool. That's Photoshop, mate. No one's that big. But yeah, so they go to Ultramar, and
He's actually bigger.
he's bigger in real
I
life.
swear he's more swole. I swear.
But unfortunately, the Black Legion are not content blowing up Cadia, where, you know, I still cry to seeing. I have a photo of Cadia and Sanguinius next to my bed. So every day I wake up, I shed a tear.
I
for both
sob
of them.
violently when that Katie is no
I
longer
cry a
around.
single tear for those two, and then I pine over a picture of Jagatai, and then I caress the glass, and I go, one day He'll come
Ooh,
back.
This guy.
So yeah, the Black Legion are in full twirling evil mustache mode, and they're like, we're gonna go blow up Ultramar. Why not? We're gonna go. Oh, we've got a Primarch. Oh, you just sleep. Ooh, we're gonna go kill him. So they go to Ultramar, and they're emboldened because they've just like made this massive rend in the galaxy. So like, yeah, let's go kill Gilliman. Yeah, sounds like a fun thing to do.
Let's just do that.
Yeah, they're like, we've just like conquered. So we've just done like this massive crusade. Why not? So the Celestian Crusade get there with the Eldar in tow, and they manage to reach Gilliman. Now, Cawl's like, right, this is not going well. There's kind of a lot of Black Legion killing everyone. Be really handy if we could get this big guy off his arse and doing something useful. So, with Urain's help, he fits the armor of fate to Bobby G, and Ivrain starts a kind of ritual, a resurrection Eldar magic MacGuffin thing. So with the Daughter of Shades' help, they manage to resurrect Rabute Gilliman after 10,000 years, millennia of slumber, and he crunks everything.
Oh, that scene
when
is
he wakes up.
amazing. And there's much, even if it's just in the supplementary book, it explains like how you've reigned in the, is it the Anarch or the Colin? Do you know what?
Autarch?
Autarch?
Vizark.
The Vizark.
Oh,
The Vizark,
okay.
her like a guard sort of thing.
Mm.
They basically, like, Belisarius Cawl heals his body in the wound, but then the damage done to his Gilliman's soul is healed by Yvrain basically sacrificing Black Legion souls to sort of repair Gilliman's. And then when the reliquary pops down, like it I think it even says in like Belisarius Cawl's voice, like green. It's like go.
Green.
And then it shuts down, and then everyone who's in the library of Ptolemy, I think, or the
temple, isn't it?
Hera, Temple of Hera or something.
Yeah, Temple of Hera.
They're in like this the inner sanctum. There's all these Ultramarines and Black Legion fighting. They all just stop and they all like turn to see Gilliman, and literally you can hear like the booms of the battle outside, and they all go, "Oh my!" Like literally, no one's like, and then Gilliman's face just like pure like rage. He just looks pissed off, and then one single corn berserker guy's like like yells and then runs towards Gilliman, and then he immediately like splits him in two, and then just starts duff like charging in.
I still think the closest we can see as a comparison is the Fellowship of the Ring in the beginning, when Sauron's looming over all the Gondor men and the elves, and they all just stop fighting, and then he's just like, problem, and then he just goes bat, and then like 15 of them go flying, and they all die. That's basically Gilliman.
He has a rule in the
like
tabletop game to do that, which I think is
Oh,
fun.
wow.
I like to think of it as a. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just like to think of it as it's like 40K's version of the Rogue One hallway scene.
Help us! But it's a world eater who's betrayed.
He's
And he's now part of the Black Legion. He's like, oh, like the nails have just gone like, nope, I'm out.
My favorite part. My favorite thing about it.
I'm angry. Look at that guy.
My favorite thing about it is the fact that Gilliman is so ginormous, and his armor obviously weighs a ton, and then he just moves faster than everyone else in the room. It literally is like, imagine like one footstep is like, oh my god, it's an actual tank.
Yeah.
And Belisarius Cawl just basically charges forth holding his axe, and he's like, yeah, like something.
Yes, queen. Yes, queen.
Yes, let me eviscerate them.
And they have like
H.
Drago as well, and Ivrain, and the Black Templars, and all the Ultramarines, Second Company.
It must be weird because Cawl's like, for people listening, Cawl's like, as he can look at Gilliman eye level. That's how big he is.
Yeah.
Because obviously
Massive.
he's been juicing.
Down on him.
And then I imagine Cawl, whenever he's in battle, is like way above even Astartes. He's just like cleaving with an axe, even though he looks completely in a weird proportion.
But he doesn't have great posture, so he could probably actually be taller if he was like straightening his back out.
Yeah.
Like, there we go.
Does he have?
He's an old man.
Does Cawl have like backup plans if he dies, like Fabius stuff? Like, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would actually go fight in battle because he'd be too important.
Well, he doesn't have the Cawl inferiors, which are like his surrogates, and he tends to. I don't think he has necessarily a backup of himself. It's more a case of he uses the Cawl inferiors, which are like amalgamated, like lesser versions of himself, which if you looked at him, you're like, that's Belisarius Cawl. But really, it's just like a copy. And he's like, I'm going to send you in my stead because that's
Okay.
dangerous and you can die and that's fine because you're just like a copy of me
Yeah.
and you're not really like, you don't have a soul. You don't have like, he
Mhm.
ain't got no soul. He's like, you're just like a construct.
Mhm.
It's,
And even when
yeah.
there's like is it Cawl is speaking to, there's a book where there's an inferior talking to someone. I can't remember who, maybe it's Gilliman. I think it is.
Yeah, I think it
And
is.
they're having a conversation. He's like, I'm not the real Cawl. Like, you can have a go at me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I'm irrelevant. I'm just like a tool that the Magos uses. And it's like, oh, this is annoying.
It also implies that because the Cawl inferiors are like brains basically floating in tubs or whatever.
Amniotic
Yeah,
fluid.
they it implies that they also think differently from. So they are Belisarius Cawl, but yet they've slightly diverged from him. Maybe because Belisarius Cawl changes so much. I do also find it funny, like they all have like attitude, like they're all very sarcastic.
This is a sassy inferior.
We should probably slightly
Got a little
mention
spice.
Belisarius Cawl, as much as he's like, oh, you think he's just like a little scurrying scientist. He has one kind of fatal flaw, which is his need for drama. He's very much he's like the Jersey Shore
As this picture shows.
of
he was going,
Mechanicus.
"Ah."
Because when he shows Gilliman the Primaris Marines the first time, he literally like makes it into a spectacle, and he's like, "Behold!" and
Behold my work.
and he actually is like, basically he does that. What's it? You know, who's the guy? Is it Jeb Bush? If anyone remembers him, he
Yeah,
does
I
that
remember,
part
yeah.
where he goes like, "Please clap."
But not being funny, if you worked on this for 10,000 years, I'd be like, yeah, I want a ceremony.
Yeah.
I want a plaque. I want a golden plaque. I want trumpets. I want a band. I want a mariachi band to come out. I want, a feast. I want because do you know how hard I've been working on this and how many like other people's minds I've had to subsume and how much I've sacrificed? And yeah, I would want some fanfare.
I mean, this guy would prefer being a servitor rather than being furniture. Do you know? Do you know what I just suffer?
Crimson Glory is back at it with $50. Thank you, Crimson Glory. Can
Thank
I
you,
get
Crimson.
Can I get a balk for the omnisized best boy? I still don't know what the balk is. Also,
Those have been saying.
Balk,
That's it.
balk.
what's the Carcardon's
balk.
episode? Good question.
That's a good question,
Carcardons,
actually.
I have been doing bad at war stuff, so I wouldn't mind learning more about
Yeah,
them.
we could maybe mention them in Badab or they're not Cursed Founding, are they?
No, I
They're a
thought they
different
were,
one.
but they're not.
I think they are.
Minotaurs
Even older than Cursed
Yeah.
Founding.
They're back
Yeah.
from like theoretically back from the first days. They're
The
supposedly actually a second founding chapter, but that's not confirmed. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're like a weird one.
But yeah, we can do
Old
one
as hell.
clause.
for you, Crimson. Anything, my brother.
Thank you, Crimson Glory. Thank you. Yeah, so he's basically Gilliman's back on the board now.
Yep, he's back on the board. Looks like Gilliman's back on the menu.
Honestly, weird
boys.
for Gilliman because he's like, the last time I spoke to you, you looked a lot more human, and now you're
Yeah,
like
you were
that.
like small. Now you were a big beetle. And why is
What
that lady
happened?
flying? And who's this guy who likes tangerines? And what is going on? Why are there like weird pictures on the Temple of Hera? And why is that child wearing a weird pendant with a skull on it? Like, what's going on?
That guy has
Um,
two
turn
power
that-
fists. What the hell? And he's a champion.
Why did you turn that baby into a servitor? And why is it floating around?
Why is there
Yeah,
baby
And
flying?
why is it like got a speaker in its throat that's making like hymns? What's going on?
I
So yeah,
hate it here.
Gilliman's been resurrected. Hooray! Everyone
Wishes he
loves
wasn't.
Gilly Bob. He's great. But with his resurrection, big shift in power in the galaxy. The most important thing that's happened in the 41st millennium on the Imperium side by a long margin. I mean, Cawl's really cool, but he ain't no Primarch. So it's like, okay, we've got a Primarch and he's alive and that's awesome. And he doesn't look old like the lion, so he's still kind of beatific. That's nice. We'll make nice posters
Leave
and
my
stuff.
beautiful Primarch's hairline alone.
Leave Charles Dance alone. So with Gilliman's resurrection, he begins the Terran Crusade because he's like, right, Ultramar's bit. We've defended it. That's good. I need to speak with Dad. So he goes, all right, Belly Boy,
Belly boy.
gather the troops. We're going to Terra. I'm gonna knock on Dad's door and go like, hey, Dad, sup? I'm back. Dab. And so they start their Terran Crusade, and they need to get all the way from Ultramar, which is in the kind of southeast of the galaxy, all the way to the west where Holy Terra is. Kind of a big problem. Great Rift, not great. So with Urain, with Cypher of the Dark Angels, with the Ultramarines, with some Grey Knight guys, with Cawl and his Mechanicus guys, with Celestine, with Greyfax, and all their band of friends, they managed to travel to Terra. However, slight problem: Red Corsairs and Thousand Suns are in the way, and Primarch Magnus the Red is also kind of stopping them from getting to Terra. And they have a big confrontation on the moon of Luna. Long story short, they managed to repel the Thousand Suns. They managed to escape the clutches of the Red Corsairs. And with Belisarius's work of not only protecting the armor of faith and installing it onto Guilliman, with Guilliman's meeting with the Emperor, he's now been given the Emperor's sword because he's like, well, you're the only one left. What's the worst that could happen? You're going to lose my sword. Come on, take the sword. So he takes the sword. He's like, okay, my pledge to Guilliman is complete. But the most important thing is I've got to show him my masterpiece. So he goes, okay, Guilliman, you've had your chat with Dad. This is kind of a big deal. This is like my life's work. I worked on this for like 10,000 years. You know all those losses you incurred during the battle on Ultramar. You know how the Tyranids kind of messed up Calgar's boys. You know how Cadia just blew up. Big sad. But
he wants to show him his life work, but he doesn't want to appear too needy.
Yeah.
So like, you can see my life work if you want.
If you want, yeah.
Whatever, it's
like,
all cool. It's fine.
Just want to show you like these hundreds of thousands of soldiers I've been working on. Yeah. Not kind of a big deal, but like Starties. You're a Primarch. You're like, oh, Starties. Starties kind of cool, but like these ones are bigger. Like, look at that. It's like good head taller. Oh, look at that. Look at his armor. I made that. See that? I made that gun. That's mine. So he basically goes, hey, Primaris, pretty cool, right? I know you're kind of a big proponent of your book you wrote, your book tour with the Codex Astartes. I get that. So I've made like every conceivable chapter we know of on record. I've made Primaris of them. I even painted the armor just like they're supposed to be. Like he's done like the whole like model building thing
The Dawn of War
in real life. He's been like the ultimate hobbyist. He's like, I did all the symbols and the heraldry properly, and here's some Deathwing guys, and here's some Blood Angels guys, here's some weird obscure character that no one talks about in the lore and doesn't have any artwork, but I've even done them. And so Guilliman's like, that's very impressive, but I've kind of got stuff to do. So he takes all the Primaris and he starts to deploy them in what he calls the Indomitus Crusade, which is kind of a big deal. Where he tests, he puts all of the Astartes, I believe, at the beginning in like bands of, is it grey shields? Where he goes, we'll take an Ultramarine and a Space Wolf and a Blood Angel and an Imperial Fist, and we'll put them all together in a band of like misfits, and we'll let them test their deficiencies and their strengths. And
they basically operate like a legion at the time. Yeah. And they deploy them in like entire like double chapter strengths, even like 2,000 Marines, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and he goes, right, we got to go, like, Daddy's back. We've got to go reclaim the galaxy, and I got milk. So
Daddy's
like,
back.
Okay,
That's a hell of a phrase. Daddy's back, and we got to reclaim the galaxy. I've got milk.
Big Blue Daddy is back. Let's go kick Chaos's ass. Yeah. So then they go out, and they've got all these Primaris of all these different chapters. Like, we're going to send some to the chapters we know where they are, so we'll send some to this chapter or that chapter. Blah blah. We'll bring a bunch with me en route because we're going to go see those crazy sons of Sanguinius who like drinking blood and being a bit cheeky. We go see them. They start to ascend their most stalwart veterans like Marnius Calgar. Goes, he's a bit old and smells of cabbage. Let's make him into a Primaris. That'll put some spring in his step. So they do. Cawl oversees all of this. He's now outfitted them with these Cawl pattern bolt guns. There's new dreadnoughts. There's new marks of armor and also variants of the Mark 10 armor. Like
I have a question.
The floaty ones.
Do you think this might be even for Colin here? Do you think they even bothered making Primaris Genesis chapter, or did they just send them straight into the Ultramarines?
Come on,
probably not at first. Probably every time Guilliman needed a spare Ultramarine and they grabbed one, they probably replaced him with a Primaris, and that's how it filtered down to the Genesis chapter.
I like the idea that he actually made like 5,000 Genesis Space Marines and just kept them in a fridge. Like they're there when we need them. Like for now, we'll just put them on ice.
Can you imagine if you were like, I'm Primaris, and then I'm just like part of the Indomitus Crusade. Then I get attached to the Genesis chapter, and then I get to leave that, and then I get attached to the Ultramarines.
Or even just imagine you're like, oh, I'm an obscure but a cool chapter. Who are we deploying with? Oh, the Genesis chapter guys. Like, oh, Well, we're on like patrol duty then. Yeah, pretty much.
Tough.
It's a shame.
Tough.
I like to
Guys.
I like to think that those Primaris weren't even painted in like Genesis colors. They just had like a big sticker over the chapter emblem that had the Genesis logo.
Oh,
And then when
man.
it was, time for the inevitable, they just ripped the sticker off. It's like,
Or
all
they-
right, Ultramarine.
Or they were like this, like on the sprues, just like grey. They're like, we're not even going to paint your colours on yet. Just hold off for a minute because you're probably
Oh,
going to be an
man.
Ultramarine in like 10 days. Just give it a minute. But yeah, so they venture forth. They aid in the devastation of Baal relief effort, and they prevent several chapters of the Blood Angels from becoming extinct. They reinforce them and other chapters because it's kind of a good idea to be like, we're going to go to Baal because all of them have kind of coagulated to defend the home world.
Mm.
So you've got like 10 different chapters all in one place. That's a good place to start. Here's your Primaris. Dante, you're in charge of this half the galaxy. I'll take the other half. Okay, break, and then they go. So that's that. They're at the devastation of Baal. There's now Primaris. Gabriel Seth is just going, I hate these guys, but he's got them anyway. With this new shift in power, Mars are getting even more annoyed at Cawl because now he's the golden boy again. He's also, the thing is, like, Cawl wants to be in charge of the Mechanicus, and he keeps saying to Rabute, like, make me a High Lord of Terror, make me the biggest, the Archmagos, make me the biggest, most important guy. And Gilliman's like, I'm not allowed, Treaty of Mars, sorry, Primarch's not allowed to give you that much power, and if I do that, there'll be another civil war in the Mechanicus. And Belisarius like, no, I'll be fine, come on, make me in charge. He's like, no, I can't, mate, sorry. And Gilliman doesn't like trust Belisarius at all. He's indebted to him. He knows he needs him, but he's like, I don't trust this beetle guy because
He doesn't know what his end goals are.
yeah, he's like,
very
he's
much.
like,
So.
I know you work for the Emperor, but I don't trust you, which is a bit sad. Like, look, he's done more than you have in the last 10,000 years. Give him a break.
There's a part of Belisarius which is the thing in like a common thing amongst like scientists and science fiction thing, which is like whether something should be done,
Yeah,
not whether it can be done.
Yeah.
And Belisarius is very much. We'll explain a bit later, but he's very much guilty of the latter in some things.
we got a $5 donation, by the way, from Non-Dormiant. He said, when will Big Daddy GW finally give us androgynous femboy Thousand Sons models?
Oh my gosh.
We wait.
They kind of are androgynous. They're all dust.
Yeah.
They don't have.
They're in urns.
They don't really have a. What's your pronoun? Dust or gone or. Just like.
I am residue. But yeah, so Cawl's a bit annoyed that he's not allowed to be in charge of the Mechanicus, even though he really deserves it. So while he's kind of moping, he's like, oh, I've done all this stuff. I gave him the armor of fate. I protected the sword. I made the big space marines. I've done everything. I've done it. I've cleaned my plate. Oh shit. Okay. Now what? Before we go into that, Crimson Glory again.
Thank you, Crimson.
Thank you,
$10
Crimson.
basically. Sons of the Phoenix, super subtle call. Also, my fiance agreed to sign off on this super chat to help Colin get his IRL Marathi. Good luck and Godspeed, dear
Let's
sir.
go.
Nice.
Thank you, Crimson
Nice.
Glory.
Man.
True hero.
Thank you. Oh
Um,
man.
So Cawl's kind of done all of his jobs. So he's now like, okay, the most important thing to do. So we need to contain this bloody cicatrix maledictum that's causing all these problems. We need to stop this because if it keeps growing, we are stuffed. Doesn't matter how many guns I make, we can't stop chaos if it's everywhere. So he ventures to a world called it's not Sofa. It is Sofa. He ventures to Sofa because way back when there was this thing called the Pharos device, which during the Horus Heresy it allowed Gilliman and the Second Imperium Secundus to transport materials through teleportation.
Oh, Andy, that's just quickly the video. Just reset the
Oh,
beginning.
sorry.
Don't worry, people.
That's
This will be
a bit-
edited out. This small section because we look smooth as.
It should be on a loop. How dare it? Technology. See the Mechanicum video. And technology rebels. How dare
The
it?
machine spirit's angry with us.
Yeah. No, it's just being naughty. It's being a naughty machine spirit.
But we're
yes.
upon Sotha.
Yes, so we're upon Sofa, but way back in the day, the Imperium discovered this thing through the efforts of Barabbas Dantioch and Alexis Pollux. They found this ancient Necron device called the Sofa device, and they used it to transport materials, to teleport across the galaxy. Because back in the day, there was there was a bit of a thing called Calf, and there was this thing called the Ruin Storm, and it was really bad. And it kind of did what the Cicatrix Maledictum did, where it split the galaxy in two, and it was a massive pain in the arse. End of that conflict, they blew it up. Barabbas Antioch did. Kind of brought the Tyranids into the galaxy, but we'll glaze over that for now. But the problem was it blew up, and then it was like, oh, it's just a useless hunk of junk, can't do anything with it. For some reason, with the birth of the Great Rift, it's active again. And so Cawl's like, that's weird. It's an old Necron device. I should have a look into this. They've got to be connected. So with the help of the chapter known as the Scythes of the Emperor, who have been tasked with defending and guarding the planet and its long dormant artifact, Cawl kind of figures out that the reason that the Sofa device can do what it's doing is it's powered by a Catan shard. And if you don't know what a Catan shard is, it's like, imagine a primordial god that the Necrons blew up before humanity even existed. And they made it into shards, and that's kind of the power supply. Big problem. So Cawl, he communicates with Zahulash, the Potentate, who is the shard in question, who's been powering the device, or lack of powering the device, for the last 10,000 years. And Catan are kind of sneaky. So he says to Cawl, I'll do you a deal. I reckon if you want to contain this thing from blowing up and causing more problems, I can help you. All I ask, you got to set me free, because I'm kind of tethered to this device. I can't go anywhere. You know, kids are getting worried. I haven't put anything else in the fridge for years. I need to send a letter to my wife. You know, let's just let's make a deal, you and me. And
it's a Snatch where the guy says, listen, when pigs are hungry enough, they can devour through bone.
Exactly.
The trick is to starve the pigs for 2 weeks and then put down plastic wrap everywhere.
So yeah, obviously a trap, but Cawl's no bitch, so he's like, fine, I can do that. So Zahulash obviously betrays Cawl, and he's like, right, stupid bug man, I'm gonna kill you. But Belisarius is well smart, so he teleports the fragment of Zahulash into like the heart, using the Sofa device, with like into the heart of like a bunch of tomb worlds that are occupied by the Necrons and are awake. So he's basically like, oh, you know those guys who like chained you up in the first place and you betrayed? I'm just gonna like send you in the middle of like a bunch of them, and they're gonna see you and be like, oh hell no, and just like go and get you. And Zahulash does that whole like, I will get you one day, Belisarius.
It's like an oil-rich country,
Nice.
telephoning America in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Bay of Pigs, just in that sector of space.
That's a very nice democratically elected communist government. It would be a shame if the CIA heard about it.
Be a shame if someone wanted to put Russian nukes upon that as well. God.
So Zahulash gets CIA'd across the galaxy. But luckily enough, with the end of that, Belisarius manages, before he leaves, to retrieve some important information. We just got another $2 donation from Crimson Glory, saying the definition of friendship is magic.
Aww. Thank you for putting our children through university, Crimson Glory.
Truly.
Thank you very much.
And and the last thing I have pretty much is
I want to one last rant. I can't believe the size of the Emperor were infected by gene stealers. Oh
yeah,
my boys. As much as Eli probably enjoys that.
It's epic.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Disgusting.
I mean, it didn't happen. It was a big threat in one of the Caiaphas Cain books. Where like, there's gene stealers on that space Hulk. We cannot risk them getting infected. Get in there, Cain.
Were they Primaris or Firstborn when they got infected?
For the last of the size of the Emperor, I only have like a couple of Marines left.
Because on the cover, it's a Primaris scythe.
But they end up, the original like Firstborn ones, the last of them end up dying in the book, and then the Primaris Marines basically kind of rebirth the entire chapter, even though obviously the very last of the Firstborn ones are there.
Primaris wouldn't stop that though, would it? I mean, there's nothing specifically in them. It's like anti-gene stealer Oregon.
No, I was just wondering with the timeline. Like, was it the Firstborn were infected, and then they dodged it because then Primaris turned up and went, ugh.
I think the last of the size of the but the first one, they all put psychic hoods on to stop the hive mind effect in their brain.
Sort of
so it kind of worked. They're okay. They're just basically like I'm
They just got weird foreheads now.
yeah, basically they're like, no, that forehead looking a little bit sus, my dude.
Little sus.
But yeah, ridge foreheads aside. Basically, Cawl goes, I'm going to take the data I can find here, and he manages to realize, hold on, this Pharos device, it doesn't look like it's the only one there is. It looks like there might be a few others scattered across the galaxy. Huh. And so now Cawl goes, okay, I'm going to spend the next few years of my time, now I have nothing else to do, trying to locate these other devices, because if we can harness their power, maybe like the pylons on Cadia, we can slowly start to shrink the Eye of Terror, which is now the Cicatrix Maledictum, and hopefully stave off chaos. I have not read the new Belisarius Cawl and
Fabius
Bile book.
Means no spoilers. Good stuff.
Well,
So
saying
that's all
that,
Hey.
I have a little bit. I won't go. Well, I say no spoilers. It's the lore. All lore is spoilers.
Yeah.
But if Eli wants to mute me for the moment now, I do know a little bit about the current Pariah Nexus events that's come out recently as of time of recording, which is where Belisarius Cawl essentially is creating a conclave of other sects of the Mechanicum because he wants to forge an alliance. And this is all for the purposes of collecting Blackstone, which is the sort of things that the pylons are made from. And again, like, it's pretty divided. Some people are like, oh, Belisarius Cawl, that dude's amazing. And other guys are like, that guy looks like he bangs his head on the door every time he walks in a room on purpose because he's an attention seeker or something stupid. Like, he's a controversial figure, but he wants to get all these forces of the Mechanicum on board. I assume actually it's probably because he wants to build pylons. Also, this is going to get him in trouble with the Necrons, most likely. But it's like problem with this conclave of great minds is that there's another great mind who's interested in some of the work happening here, and this is Mr. Fabius Bile himself, the Clone Lord. And
I'm just picturing him with Skeletor's voice, like, I'm not going to be away for this meeting.
The two Gene Fathers are here, and the plot mostly evolves around how Fabius Bile essentially is attacking Belisarius Cawl's ship, and particularly the Enclave as well. And we all think, like, Fabius Bile is obviously like, basically, I'm better than you, whatever you've made. Primaris, I've seen a couple of them. It's all right, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
Impressed.
I'm not impressed, boy. And essentially, this leads to a confrontation where we find out Fabius Bile doesn't really want to do anything with the Blackstone. He doesn't actually care about that. What his real objective was a certain figure who stands by the side of Belisarius Cawl named Alpha Primus. Now, for people who Alpha Primus is a sort of space marine who appears as like a sort of Cawl's bodyguard in a way. It's also in the previous book. But there's something special about Alpha Primus, which is sort of, it links to Belisarius Cawl's vision with the Emperor, where the Emperor originally said to him, you're going to one day feel like you betrayed me and you need to keep going on. And we possibly believe this is it, where Fabius Bile manages to capture this Alpha Primus. And Alpha Primus is special because in his gene seed, it contains, like, Alpha Primus is special. He's not like a normal space marine or anything like that. He's stronger, he's faster, he's more intelligent. But he's not quite a Primarch.
Is he kind of like Leetu?
Kind of like that. He's made, well, Leetu is a space marine made.
He's like a prototype.
He's a prototype space marine in the Horus Heresy on Terra, and he's made without any of the genetics of the actual Primarchs. He's made from the Emperor, I think, as a he's a unique one. Whereas Alpha Primus is made up with the genetics of all the Primarchs, and that's
even the naughty ones, the two we don't.
That's the heresy essentially that Belisarius Cawl has somewhat committed in a way, like he's used traitor gene seed to make this special thing. But it's also somewhat of a thing that leads into his flaws because he's created Alpha Primus, and it's almost again a thing of like he didn't have to do it, but he did it because he wanted to see if it could be done. And now, essentially, Fabius Bile takes his gene seed out of Alpha Primus while he's alive. Alpha Primus still lives, but he basically takes his black carapace out, which is obviously very special. And Fabius Bile like sort of goes, "Sorry, I lied to you, Belisarius. You actually are a genius, and you did make something amazing here. But I just had to lure you in."
Also, yoink, like you dick.
Yeah. So
That
Fabius,
was quite rude.
I do think this book is entirely made for two reasons, which is to set up Belisarius' Cawl's pylon sort of shenanigans, but also for the fact of Emperor's children might get Primaris traitor marines. Or, maybe something like that. But essentially, Fabius Bile now walks off with a gene seed that is beyond priceless, which Belisarius Cawl has created. And I think probably Alpha Primus may have been used to sort of, as in, like, he's like the pure, like, great, the actual genius work. And then the Primaris, like, the bulk version of him.
The derivatives, yeah.
Yeah, like store brand, store brand Alpha Primus is the Primaris. And obviously his name being Alpha and Primus is pretty obvious. But that's essentially where Belisarius Cawl it again. It's not really the end of the world necessarily, but it's very much like, oh crap, Fabius Bile, the rogue man, the silly goof that he is, he's walked off with that gene seed. But now Belisarius Cawl has managed to get the Mechanicum, a larger contingent of the Mechanicum, to side with him, and now they're essentially battling on Necron worlds and trying to harvest Blackstone for stuff.
Yeah, because that's a fun resource to have, Blackstone. It's just, you can make fortresses out of it, you can make pylons out of it, you can make all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah, but that's kind of where Belisarius Cawl's story is at the moment. He also hasn't seen Gilliman in a while, apparently, and then he's probably thinking, I think it says in this book as well, he feels like Gilliman might kill him if he found out about Alpha Primus. So he's very much like I'm just not deal with that, and I'm going to put that in my mind for a later date.
Because they certainly are like pushing the prior Nexus stuff recently. They had that show on Warhammer TV and with Sarek and all that. Like, it's all going on in prior Nexus.
We better get Necron Pariahs back. I've been waiting for that for a long time.
I did my video on Thomas Maccabee, and everyone was like, "Oh, I remember this goofy little guy." I'm like, yeah, he's fun.
Heck yeah.
I think that's pretty much the up to date part, though, isn't it?
I think so.
I hope Alpha Primus gets a model, bro. Please.
Yeah. I think it's GW stuff is the only way any character usually gets a model is if it moves the plot forward. In a way,
although what's that guy from the White Consoles who's got a cool model? He's like, who's this guy? Oh, he's got a cool model.
He's in the Dawn of Fire novel series, which they have now cancelled because no one liked it.
Oh, haven't they done like 7 books or something?
They were trying to create like a Horrors Heresy 40k continuous plot thing going along, but then a lot of people kind of went, that's a cool idea. It's a shame the books are very hit or miss. I have no idea, but there's a book in that series called Wolf Time, and the people who have read that are violently opposed to that book because apparently there's like the Space Wolves there's no Wolf Time in it. For people wondering, there's like Wolf Time, like the end days for the Space Wolves. There's no Wolf Time in it. It just like there's one point where someone says like it's like in a film where someone says the name of the film.
Be a shame if there was a Wolf Time and then it's credits. Oh, you cheeky sods.
Geez. Did you guys say thanks to Mr. Crimson Glory for the $5 again?
Ooh, thank you, Mr. Crimson Glory, again.
He says Alpha Legion loyal versus Alpha Legion traitor. They're the same thing. Eldridge, the old great one, for $5. Thank you. Cawl walking away with his mechanic sack plump full of all that gene seed for the Imperium, of course.
Of course.
I didn't need to hear that.
for science reasons.
Yeah. Oh, but I was say how there's been characters who really haven't done much for the plot that still get models, like in fantasy and 40k. Realistically, like what has Creed done for the plot?
Yeah.
In lore, he was in charge of Cadia for a year and then it blew up.
He just goes,
and then there's like those like Grom 2. What did he do? He's fat.
Should we return to the Foursquare just for that? Yeah. Oh, there's also in It reminds me of who someone who's liked Iron Hands, and then the tabletop Iron Hands character is called Iron Father Ferius, who's, by the way, barely in anything,
Yeah.
and he's for some reason he's like,
cool, though.
oh,
His tiny bit of lore is pretty cool.
I mean, yes,
It's new stuff. They are desperate for it.
I mean, as much as it's a bad way to say it, the Iron Hands are gagging for more lore. We just need.
I think the thing is as well is like with you were saying about the Dawn of Fire stuff. I think they just need to like refresh some factions which need stuff like the Iron Hands, maybe the White Scars, the Salamanders. Just like get some of that moving first before you start to do a big grand opera start. Like, oh, we're going to have it all, because I like when I look at the Dawn of Fire ones, I'm like, oh, there's a Gizmordian guard there. There's there's all these things in this book, obviously. But you're like, hang on, what about that important thing?
It made me actually think about which Primarch is most likely returning next, and I think it might be Lehman Russ, simply for the fact of the Lion came back. Or first of all, that intertwines greatly, and secondly, it's to do with the model release. Remember, this is a lore about a board game or tabletop game, and this Dark Angels already being like a divergent chapter and getting a full release early 2024 as of time of recording. I assume Space Wolves will at some point will get something similar, so therefore that's probably why Lehman Russ will come back before any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Poor Jagatai. I mean, Volgan could come back and it wouldn't change a thing, and I'd be fine with that. You know what I mean? He's there.
I just want like an adventure with Vulcan Histan and Trazin. Like, I was like, I want this, I want this. All right, we'll work together and then we'll split the difference. Like, have a fun little overlapping story.
Keep trying to take his spear at some point.
Yeah, you could have Trazin like, I'm going to get your
a
spear.
A single crumb of Emperor's Children lore, please.
Although
Julius is getting a book, I think.
Eidolon's getting one.
Yeah, Eidolon and Julius, I think.
There's a second
Julius Caesar.
There's
don't worry about it, babe.
Babe.
I won't.
There's another Emperor's Children Renegade book coming out as well.
Yeah,
so they're about to get two books. I don't think it's Julius. I think it's like it's like a new character.
I didn't think it was either, but my friend told me it was like for sure him.
Huh.
Maybe it's wrong though. I don't know, but I think it is because Julius is still alive, which I totally forgot about.
Keep forgetting Julius at some point, because it's not like. Yeah, that Colin's like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah,
he's the first captain, isn't he? But he's like, oh, I'm not like an important first captain.
He's not a
like
POV character in anything.
He's just there. Like, oh, all right, Julius, how's it going? Yeah. Oh, that's Julius. All right, bye.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
God, I remember listening to the Lucius the Eternal book. I read it, and it's just a weird point in that where like he gets captured and he looks down and he's like, oh, my legs are no longer human legs anymore. They're like, I have hoofs. I remember thinking, why does Lucius the Eternal have hoofs?
I forgot, but I read the book a long time ago.
It's not memorable.
Crimson Glory. I can't even begin to describe. Thank you for the 5.
Thank you.
I can't even begin to describe how badly I need a Lorecrimes stream of all of you playing Lethal coming together, bro. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Lethal company.
We need to do some more gaming streams in general.
We might do one in the beginning of the new year, to be fair. I should probably say this is like, as of time now, it's just before, I think it's our last one before Christmas.
It's our last one because next week we're taking a week off because it's going to be Christmas time.
We actually have a life, unfortunately, outside of this.
We're going to
truly shocking. And we're cooking up something special for the end of the year, which won't be live, but it'll be fun. So yeah.
And
this year.
To be fair, we should probably take some of the things we want to do. Obviously, some topics we're probably going to cover will be similar to a lot of the releases happening next year. So there's we are doing Necrons.
It's happened. Necron Lords has been my epic rep battle, guys.
Yeah, Eli's been chomping at the bit for months, being like, "We need to do Necron Lords." I'm like, "I hear you, I hear you."
We have Necron Lords. There'll probably be some Dark Angels as of release schedule stuff. Maybe some Orcs, Custodes have.
We've got to get back to Great Crusade.
Tau. I mean, we have done like 0 Tau things.
We'll probably want to do a bit more Godric and Felix, and then some more fancy. I'm desperate to do vampire counts. It's so
that'd be
bad.
Nice. That'd be very nice.
I think our next thing though is a tier list stream. I do believe, which will be after Christmas. and we will obviously let you guys hear some ridiculously, I was about to say based, but it wouldn't be based. It would be horrific takes on 40k content, though. I think, though, does anyone else want to add anything more about Mr. Belisarius Cawl? I think we covered him pretty decently there.
I think he's cool.
Do a little bit of tabletop stuff.
Yeah, if you got a tabletop stuff. I do have the. Does anyone actually pay for the 40k app? Because I definitely do myself.
Nope.
I
I
managed to
kept the
keep
free
it.
one and
I
just didn't
use
change my lists. Or I mean,
I
you know,
use the community sheets and Wahapedia whenever it updates,
And
which is
Battlescript.
slow sometimes, but
Right,
it
should
does
I
do
put
it.
the screen up again then? The belly
No, that's
boy?
fine. You can keep it like this. It's
Okay.
Yeah, I got it up. He's, I'll full admit, not Mechanicus guy. They're very cool, but just not my thing. He's an interesting fella. Reasonably tanky, 2-up save, 4-up invuln save, 10 wounds. So he can take a hit. Little slow, 6 inches of movement. We're not Necrons or Death Guard here, but he's not speeding around. He does have a couple different canticles, so he can buff units pretty decently. He can re-roll battle shock tests, re-roll hits, rolls a 1, give units near him stealth, which is
That's unfair.
pretty damn good. He selects one of them per battle round. He can make it so that you have to be within 12 inches of him to shoot him if he's close to a unit. He regenerates, also good. His weapons, I'm not gonna lie, I think they're a little bit mid. The Solar Atomizer is D3 attacks, which I don't like that kind of randomness.
Yeah, it sucks.
Which, it was a problem for the Wraith Guard. It's a problem here. It's pretty hard, Hits up on 2-ups, AP -4, strength 14, D3. Gonna hurt.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good in terms of.
Oh, no,
AP,
it's good.
But if
It's just for.
Yeah.
What's up?
how many? What's the damage of it?
3. So
Yeah.
it's
not too
pretty-
bad.
it's
Yeah, but
solid.
on average, you only hit with 1, probably maybe 2. if
Well,
you
yeah,
roll
and you
good.
might only get 1.
And then you have to
attack try
wound.
with.
Damn.
Yeah.
They probably don't have Oath at the moment, do they? Mechanicus, so annoying.
His melee attacks also, solid. Arc Scourge is anti-vehicle +4, so his axle. No, that's not his axe. That's something completely different. Pardon me.
Arc Scourge is like his it's like flail, isn't it? It's like a flail thing.
Yeah. It's right above his axe on the data sheet, so that's what I was reading. His axe is solid, good for infantry. His Mechadendrite Hive is 2d6 attacks, which that makes me want to cry because I feel like I'd roll double ones every time. It's like, wow, I could have got 12 attacks. I got 2. The attacks are also kind of shit if you're not fighting like guardsmen or hormagaunts. But there's a role for taking out chaff. I'd say he's all right. Eli, I don't know if you know a bit more about Cawl than me. I think he's good, especially because he's only 185 points, and he gives a decent bit to the army for that.
I heard he was one of their better things, and that AdMech still has unfortunate rules, as they have had for the last 3 years, it seems. But
it's if you're playing AdMech, you're a very brave soul. I'm very sorry for what GW is doing to you.
Yeah, and I hope you have a very nice carry case with lots of foam.
That's true.
Or a lot of super glue.
The worst thing about Cawl is painting assembling him. Good luck.
Oh, I have a Belisarius Cawl model, but I don't play AdMech. But he has definitely been turned into a demon prince with wings for me.
Nice.
Nice. So he's got because I play Thousand Sun, he's got like a Zangor head on him, which is very heretical, and then he's got all his different things, and I've given him what's the faction in Age of Sigmar, which is like the tree men now? They're called Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
So they have
L'Ariel and the girls.
I have one of the Treekin things from that, and I gave it. They're like the sort of Durthu looking swords, and I've given the Belisarius Cawl model that, and I've given it wings from another wood elf sort of thing, and I've painted him up to be
very nice.
Oh, I mean, I'm very happy with that. He makes a great demon prince substitute. If anyone here is like thinking,
I would bet.
We have a donation.
Go ahead, sorry.
We have a donation from Bert Bivid Demir or I don't want to say it. It's okay. You know who you are. Thank you, Bert. Playing Rogue Trader now. Anybody not choosing the introduce me Abelard options 100% of the time is playing the game wrong. I have not gotten the game yet, but I would really like to.
Haven't had a chance, but might do
anyone
this
calling
Christmas
you?
break. A few of our YouTuber buddies have had sponsorships, though, haven't they? With,
Oh yeah.
For what? Pardon, I didn't-
Rogue Trader.
Oh, I don't care for CRPGs.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah. That's it.
So it's like Baldur's Gate. I know everyone loves it. It's a great game. And I admit it's a good game. I don't like CRPGs.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with
So
that.
it's like, it's like it's the best pie. It's it's the best, I don't know, pie in the world. If you don't like pie, you're not gonna like
Yeah.
it. I'd like pie.
What do you mean? Are you sure Spider-Man 2 is not the best game of the year?
I don't think it.
The amount of people who are upset about that is ridiculous. It's just-
I'll double down on that. PlayStation games or movies.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It is a Sony project, though. Having said that, I think that will be the end of this episode. I think next time will be Necron Lords, and then we have some more verses coming. If you made it this far as well, don't forget the question of the week we had earlier was like "Chrome me up." So obviously, what Mechanicus modification thing would you get? Make it weird. Make it weird.
Make it weird.
That being said, though, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all the donations too.
Yep.
I really appreciate that. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope everyone has a lovely break, and we'll catch you guys all next time.